Buttons hit. All right. I believe we are live. The button's been hit. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall 19, the man with the million, and we are back with a Tuesday edition instead of a Monday edition of the Xbox 2 podcast. And I'm one of your hosts, obviously, Randall 19, the man with the million, and with me, as always, we have Jez Corden of Windows Central, who is currently not here because he's writing an article.
Oh, sorry, I was Jez. I'll muted there for a moment. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, I am here, Rand. And how are you doing, man? It's been a few days. It's been an interesting few days.
It's certainly definitely has, man. Definitely. Oh, I didn't even start the clip. My bad. Anyways, it's been also an exhausting week because I streamed the show for the live reaction, and then the next day we were going to do the show, but you had an emergency pop up, which I'm sure you'll explain in a minute because you're doing something right now. And then I made a video, and then everybody wants me to come on their podcast. So, it's just it's just nonstop stuff to talk about and do. So I literally, because I was just so exhausted, I slept for 18 hours today. So it's yeah. But it's great though. It's definitely much better than last year, or even 2019, when people were a little bit more pissed with what was going on or didn't feel that good about what Xbox was doing. And today it definitely seems that everybody is thinking Xbox had the best, if not one of the best, presentations of E3, which is honestly, considering the competition where all the other shows really just were awful, except for Nintendo's. I didn't watch Nintendo because who cares about Nintendo? Mr. Young Heckagan says Nintendo fans are saying that Nintendo saved E3, but I think Xbox had the best show. I mean, clearly, Xbox had the best show. Nintendo fans are just excited for another Zelda and another Metroid once again. And even if you look at all the polls, like the IGN poll and the Jeff Keighley poll, more people think Xbox had a better showing than Nintendo. But it's not about who had the better showing between Xbox and Nintendo. It's about everyone being excited. Nintendo fans are hyped about what Nintendo's doing, which is awesome. And Xbox fans are excited about what Xbox is doing. And finally, other people outside of the Xbox community are also looking at Xbox differently this time. So
Yep.
I'm kidding about the Nintendo stuff. Everybody knows here. I'm just saying Nintendo fans are nice. They're always nice, but I'm just happy to see people excited about gaming in general, whether it's Nintendo or Xbox, and see other people finally understanding what Xbox is doing, whether or not, Nintendo or Xbox had the best presentation. That's up to each person's individual preference. But it's been an exciting week, Jez. What do you think?
Yeah, man. There was so much fail from some of the other shows out there, like Square Enix, Capcom, and others. But Microsoft really showed up. And the crazy thing, which we're gonna get more into later, is they didn't even show anywhere near everything that they've got coming. We didn't see anything from an XR. We didn't see anything from Compulsion. We didn't see tons of stuff. In some ways they showed far more than I expected them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, if you actually take a step back and take a sort of broader overview at the landscape, they have so much more coming that's sort of waiting in the wings. Perfect Dark, Hellblade, State of Decay 3, and all of these studios in XR are recruiting tons of people to grow beyond being AA or indie level studios. So the future is bright, man. And I really do feel like this week has been a major turning point. It feels like if Microsoft dug itself into a sort of deficit or dug themselves into a hole in 2013, I feel like they just got to the top of that hole. And now everything from here on out is probably going to be largely positive.
Yeah.
I nearly finished this, by the way.
Oh, you nearly finished it? Okay.
I'm still like writing E3 articles even now because like doing the podcast like this in the middle of the week has thrown my schedule a bit, but I wanted to do it because we got so much cool stuff to talk about. And but yeah, bear with me 5 minutes, and I'll need to be done with this.
Right. So yeah, what do we got going on here? Got a couple super chats. Always appreciate the support from everybody in the chat, whether you're just sitting here hanging out with us or you want to go the extra mile. Thomas says, first time catching you guys live. The podcast get me through work. Keep it up. Thank you. And wait. Oh, do I have the wrong? I have the wrong clip. Actually, I think the wrong clip actually queued up. I think
Wrong clip.
Yeah, I recorded the conference and I made a mistake, so I think I had the wrong one set up, but it should be fine now.
Professional
podcasters. Everybody had seen it. I just needed something for the background. Jonas says it's lunchtime. Need some roasted Randall tomatoes and grilled shrimp with world famous Jez bone cream sauce. That's a pretty good one. Thanks to Wagerman. What's going on, buddy? He says, glad to be finally able to catch you live. Keep up the great work. What does the rest of the year look like? Gamescom, XO21, VGAs, TGS? We'll talk about that in just a minute. Dovakin says, did Breath of the Wild 2 look exactly like Breath of the Wild 1? I didn't actually see it. I'm sure it probably looks similar, the art style and everything. Mars Stone, thank you for the super chat, man, and support. It means a lot. Thanaros says, thoughts on Everwild reboot. That is a topic. We will be getting to that because there's a lot there to talk about. Flame says, if you're an Xbox customer, I want you to know that this is about delivering great exclusive games that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. Yep. That's Phil basically being very nice and telling people what their plans were with Bethesda before outright calling him an exclusive. You know what I mean? Trey Duke says, show was a 2 out of 10 for me. No Jet Set Radio Future is disgraceful. No, I'm sorry you didn't get what you wanted. Paul says, a few weeks ago I was asked what Microsoft had planned for fall if Halo released last year. Well, I got the game I always wanted with Forza Horizon 5 with Halo, so I'm happy. I'm glad you're happy, man. Justin says, where the hell was Blinks? Show was great, but I selfishly want a new Blinks game. They could have made it insane like Sony did Ratchet and Clank. I don't think we'll ever see Blinks come back, unfortunately. Achievement said Xbox open with Bethesda game and close with the Bethesda game to show they're exclusive from start to finish. Yep. That was very, very smart of them to do. Aethiel says, hope Xbox continues this format in their future showcases. They need to continue showing more in-game trailers and less CGI trailers. The less CGI, the better. But you got to realize we're still working from home. And the fact that show was as awesome as it was speaks to how it was put together. I mean, think about it. Like, all the other conferences outside of Nintendo were just god-awful. Square's, Capcom's, Ubisoft's, like all of them were just horrible. It almost is like what
pretty good if you like.
Comedy. Oh, Devolver is always fun because they're funny. You know what I mean? But for the most part, all the shows were just horrible, and it's because of the state of game development right now. Like all those things could have you didn't need to do a show or at least an hour-long show, but Xbox and Nintendo saving E3. Even Jeff Keighley's Summerfest wasn't even that good. I mean, they had Elden Ring, which saved the show, but like too much talking heads, too many celebrities, too many musical interludes. You know what I mean? Whittia says, Rand, will you still try Flight Sim as it's confirmed that it's 30? They just couldn't believe Xbox made that historic purchase because they want those games on PlayStation because PlayStation fans feel they're entitled to everything. And finally, for the first time in a long time, they're not getting some stuff and they're acting out, as you can definitely see on social media. Paul says, Jez, be real. Halo got you hyped. If not, no more shrimp and mayo for you. Okay, here's something. I know Jez is busy doing an article.
I've just finished.
Okay, he just finished it. But Jez admitted to me that Halo looked really good before we started the show. So
don't tell him, Rand.
Uh-huh. Yeah, everybody knows.
I gotta give him props, man. Like I went and looked at some of the screenshots. Zoomed in, counted some pixels. Like you meant to do on social media, and the texture work has, indisputably, how do you say that?
Indisputably.
I don't know. The texture work has improved by leaps and bounds, and you can't really dispute it. Like if you actually just look with your eyes, you can see so much more detail in the guns, the environments, the enemies, stuff like that. And like the lighting implementation is better and just everything looks better and it looks a lot more next gen without sort of sacrificing the style that I think a lot of Halo fans expect of franchise and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to play Halo. I want to play it, man.
Wow.
I'm gonna be a Halo esports guy. I'm gonna be the best Halo player in the world. I'm
Wow.
gonna what?
I'm
What,
shocked
man?
you've come a 180. Last year you
Yeah.
were like, Halo's a Lego game. It looks bad. People should feel bad for being Halo fans. All the crap that
I
you
never
have
said
given
that.
me, all the crap that you've given me on this show about being a fan of Halo for the past year that I've had to endure. And now you're like, I want to play it really bad and be an esports hero.
Okay.
Like, oh my
Okay.
god.
Okay. I can see it. It's not a Lego game anymore. And I noticed that it even has blood sprays now, which it didn't seem to have in some of the previous games. Um. So yeah, I concede. Halo is not a Lego game anymore. It's not
Yes.
a Lego
We
game.
got him, boys. We got him. Clip it.
It's a Lego. What's it called? It's a Lego Technic game.
Oh my god.
It's kind of leveled up Lego Technic now.
We do have a lot to say about Halo later in the show. Robert Hart says, what can Xbox do to up the quality of the live stream? 1080p was terrible. 4K was much better. Also, anyone keen for a Commander Keen Ratchet and Clank type game? Yeah, dude, I will say the difference between 1080p, watching it on stream, and then watching it on my TV at 4K, night and day. I understand doing 4K streams is very difficult, a lot of bandwidth problems. So they kind of do the 1080p stuff and then they upload the 4K version later. It's just kind of how you have to deal with Twitch and YouTube. But I definitely recommend everybody go watch the stream in 4K because it makes a difference. Dylan says, please tell me Halo will come out this year. Jez, any inkling on this? They said holiday 2021, and I'll give my theory about why I think that later. But I still feel confident Halo's coming out this year, don't you?
Yeah, Halo's definitely coming out this year. I think they just said. I think personally, why they said holiday is because they wanna strategize around Call of Duty. Call of Duty is like this big sort of vacuum that sucks away a lot of the attention. So maybe Microsoft's thinking, well, we'll wait for Call of Duty to drop their date, and then we'll come in ahead of them, or we'll come in behind them, or something. Because you got to remember, Halo Infinite's multiplayer is free to play.
That's right.
They're going head to head with Warzone, basically. So there's got to be some strategizing around the date because of that. So, I think that's why they're a bit wishy-washy with it, but we'll wait and see.
I got a theory on it. We'll talk about when we talk about Halo. Chanaka says Take-Two had the best show in the world. What is everybody talking about? Yeah, their show. It was just people talking. Wasn't it like a boardroom meeting or something? CMAD said Xbox Microsoft had done a masterful job in building its next-gen foundation. Use this time, limited hardware and HDMI 2.1 output device availability masterfully. Chris R says, in your opinion, will we hear about Gears 6 next year, or is that further out? I don't think we'll hear about it next year. I think it'll be a couple years before we... I mean, the Coalition came out and said it's going to be a while before we hear it them. And if it was one of those things where it was only going to be a year before we saw something from them, I think they wouldn't have put that out. So I think we won't see anything from them next year. So you're probably looking maybe 2023 before we hear something from the Coalition again. Maybe even further. I just kind of feel that they wouldn't have put out that statement if they were going to be at E3 2022. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Red Cloud Gamer says, enjoying the midweek show, keeping my workday game filled is awesome, and is everybody else suddenly interested in an official Lego Halo title? And they should be. They should make one, 100%. Rick says, Jez will be a Halo fan by the end of the year. Mark these words, uwu. You guys rock. Love from Brazil. Thank you. John G says, I am just like Jez. I'm not a Halo fan, but with the graphics and being on Game Pass, I am a fan now. Dovikin says, apparently Blue Box teased Silent Hill on Twitter. Did they? Adam says, Jez, now that you KO'd Colin on the ZeniMax deal, will you now be on his show sometime this year? Yeah, so you had a back and forth with Colin. So what's going on with that?
Yeah, I did. I owe him an apology, really. I didn't, honestly, when I first saw that tweet, I didn't know who he was. I thought he was just like a YouTuber or something that was like, dunking on Xbox and stuff. But I actually like watched some of his content, and he's like really fair and balanced, actually, and fairly knowledgeable about what's going on. But I just thought he was another one of these sensationalist YouTubers, like, that
Like me?
Rand Thor or whatever.
Yeah, like me.
So I owe him an apology, really. I really do. But maybe, yeah, in the future, I maybe catch up with him, and we can talk some Xbox.
I want to see that.
Game Pass figures and stuff like that.
I want to see Jez Corden go one-on-one with Colin. That'd be great. Shout out to Fatty. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. FATEEGH. I don't know how to say that, but thank you for becoming the newest member of the channel. Enjoy your emotes, channel badges, all that good stuff. Two Player says, do you think the Halo multiplayer deep dive was pulled from Thursday's showcase and showed the day after to build on the overwhelming positive fan reaction? No, I think that was the plan from the get-go. I think that was always the way it was going to be. You kind of show off a little hype trailer for the multiplayer and the campaign during the main show, and then you have the overview of the multiplayer the next day to keep the information rolling. I don't think they pulled that from the conference. That's just my opinion on that, though. Let's see what else we got here. So we're doing the midweek show because we didn't want to wait till Friday to give our reactions. We were gonna do it yesterday, but Jez had an emergency. But don't worry, he's okay. What happened, Jez? What happened to be like we got to do this tomorrow? It was your bank, right? You lost access to your bank.
Yeah, it was some like false alarm bank fraud thing. I used this new PayPal service to spread the payments of my new mattress out or something, and they were like, "Oh my god, you've been hacked," and I'm like, "No, I haven't. That's the new PayPal thing." But it's all sorted now. I just had to deal with them because I'd been on hold for 2 hours, and I had payments and things I needed to pay for, and I really needed to get that sorted, and they'd kept me on hold for so long. But yeah, it's all sorted now. It was just really bad timing, I guess.
Yeah. So it was just like I was about ready to start the show, and Jez is like, I can't, and I'm like, all right, we'll do it tomorrow. So
sorry about that.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
And then this isn't the only show for the week. We are also going to have a guest-filled show on Friday, so we can get more people than just me and Jez to talk about what Xbox did and how people are feeling about Xbox. So look forward to that on Friday as well. So. It's E3. We had to do it big. People love the guest episode with Lord Cognito and Cold Eastwood and Tim Dog and Special Nick. So we're doing it again. We're gonna have new guests. People that I know from the community that I've talked to all the time. So that should be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. Brian says Halo looks much better than last year. I was surprised by Plague Tale Requiem. Absolutely love the first one, and it seems it's Xbox exclusive now. Any chance Microsoft buys the developer? Actually, it's multi-plat. I got the press release, PS5, I think maybe even Switch. It's not exclusive. It is coming to Game Pass on day one. Will they buy the developer? You never know. Possibly. They are working on Flight Sim together. So, you never know what happens with acquisitions, right? Because this time last week, we were talking about 5 acquisitions, and 0 happened. We'll have to kind of go into that a little bit. Yeah. Georgie says, Chief and Smash, Halo D2 season, Halo bigger than COD. The Glitch Doctor says, the Xbox Showcase did the unthinkable. For the first time in my life, I'm legitimately excited about a racing game. Horizon 5 looks amazing. Indeed it does. Jason says, everyone talking Stalker, but Plague's Tale Requiem looked amazing, especially the last scene with the boy looking over the bay. Agreed. Dijon said, I wish I had Game Pass as a kid. Would have saved me so much money and played many more games. I think that's how people feel about it, the Game Pass in general. So, okay, Jez, we have a lot here to talk about. The entire showcase, kind of how we feel about it, our ratings, individual stuff about like Halo, some of the information that came out later, but can I just wanted to start the show out with something that I saw today that I feel like needs to be called out. we talk about media bias and stuff like that, and I don't necessarily agree that there is media bias, right? Like, I think individual people have preferences, right? But I don't think corporations necessarily have a bias. But what I saw Bloomberg do today was just complete bull. They had Sarah Bond on to talk about the consoles, and they had the little screen where they said, hey, Xbox is ditching consoles, going to be on TV. I'm sure, I don't know if a lot of you guys saw that or whatever. And to me, that's just their agenda. They're pushing their agenda because they had to have been on the 1 hour special press event where they literally talked about hardware and how consoles their flagship and how they're making more consoles. But yet to have a little snippet on screen saying Xbox is ditching consoles for TV, I feel like is complete bullshit, if you ask me. Especially from an outlet like Bloomberg, right? Am I wrong in saying this, people? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that needs to be called out because it's untrue.
Really
it's a lie.
Yeah.
Like,
it is a lie. It's not only a lie. It's literally the definition of fake news. And this is Bloomberg, supposedly global authority of establishment media, literally peddling fake news. They were on the call when Phil said explicitly, and I'm paraphrasing slightly here, but Phil said something to the tune of, there will always be Xbox game consoles, as in, he said literally always. He didn't say for the foreseeable, he said always. And that's how Phil currently sees this whole thing. And so much of the establishment media, which really, really irritates me, they seem to miss the fact that the server blades are literally Xbox consoles. So if you're making server blades from Xbox consoles, why wouldn't you just repackage them and sell them as home servers too? Let people run their games from home. They work in the cloud, they work at home with the same hardware virtually. It's just in a different shape. It's like an Xbox Series X that's rackable in a server rack. So it's so irritating watching these journalists who get paid a lot more than me, to peddle bullshit all the time. And I'm going to write an article literally quoting Phil word for word about what he said at that press event last week, where he said explicitly there will always be Xbox consoles, and they reiterated multiple times that consoles is still the core of what they do. Cloud gaming is an option. They literally said that. They see cloud gaming as supplementary to the console space, not to replace it. They have been explicit about this time and time and time again. And these people just want to peddle bullshit. They want to create incendiary, reactionary headlines because that's the only way they get clicks. And it really, really irritates me. So I'm going to counter that tomorrow. And it's bullshit.
Yeah, as you should.
Bullshit.
I mean, I understand wanting to let people know that, hey, Xbox is coming to more devices. It'll be on your TV. It's on your phone. It's on PC and stuff. But, like, to deliberately say it's ditching console, I mean, maybe they think, well, ditching console means something different, as in, like, it's ditching console but still being on console and then still being everywhere. But that small little headline just is like, when something ditches something, they're not on it anymore. So I saw it as like, oh, you're trying to say that it's no longer going to be a console. I don't know, man. Like, but the thing is like, Microsoft wants and needs the reach of these outlets, right? So of course they're gonna play nice with Bloomberg and all these other outlets that are big enough. It is what it is, but like, I don't know. I thought that was some low grade BS. Like, I expect that from like websites that nobody watches or reads, or like fan sites from, like Xbox fan sites talking about PlayStation, or PlayStation websites talking about Xbox, where it's like they always rather dig deep into the negative of a situation. I don't really expect that from someone like Bloomberg, who's like respected in the business world, right?
I do. I completely expect it from Bloomberg.
Okay, well, you expect it. I guess I'm different in that regard. Man. Anyways,
to be fair, I expect it of all American outlets.
Yeah, the American outlets. We all love our clickbait, right?
Like, Europe just has a different approach to news. Well, the UK at least. Like the BBC has like a legal mandate to present both sides of the news. They want to because the BBC and Channel 4 and stuff, they receive tax money to fund their operations, and they have to present both sides of the argument, you know. Or at least, that's the idea. But like American outlets they just like, pander to whatever will get the most outrage, and it really irritates me. Can you tell I'm irritated?
Yeah, I can definitely tell. I mean, you're writing the article about it. So, a cookie says, "I'm an addict trying to get clean. Wish me luck, bro." Hey, man, good luck. Aquaman says, "Any chance Persona and Final Fantasy Remake come to Xbox?" Yes. I think both of them will come, but it probably won't be anytime soon. Trey Duke says, "So, am I the only one who really wanted to play Party Animals?" It looks fun. I'm sure there's plenty people out there that love that sort of like physics-based brawler type stuff, like the Fall Guys or Human Fall Flat or Gang Beasts. You know what I mean? So
I thought it looked pretty cool. But like one thing that E3 is really like, one thing that really sucks about E3 is like the volume of multiplayer games. And then there's me thinking, oh wow, that looks cool. Oh wait, I got no one to play with.
yeah. Funchito says, "Do you know more about how Xbox and Game Pass will work on Windows 11? Any new features?" Yeah, Jez, Windows 11. How's all that stuff gonna work?
Oh my god, that was so funny. Like, I had a nap this afternoon because my sleeping cycle is completely screwed up beyond all recognition. So I went to bed in the afternoon and got up at 7 p.m. in the evening. Like, what is daylight? So but like while in that brief window of having a few hours worth of napping, Windows 11 leaked. This is why I can't sleep, Ran. Because if I sleep, I miss things like this. But luckily the Windows Central team was all over it. So yeah, Windows 11 ISO is leaked ahead of the June 25 event, which is absolutely hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious for the team, and I'm sure the PR team was freaking out and having kittens, but yeah, Windows 11 has leaked, and it's real, and it looks really damn nice. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's got all the sort of rounded corners like the Xbox operating system. It basically looks like Xbox made Windows. That's literally what it looks like. It looks so much nicer, so much more consistent, and all that sort of stuff. I honestly don't know when it comes to the other stuff, like will it be a free upgrade? Will it be, a subscription or whatever like that? I suspect like they'll do like a home version that's free, and then like if you want the pro version, which comes with like virtual machines and business grade solutions, that might be paid for. But as far as gaming goes, I have no idea what features it has. Besides the fact that I know Microsoft was trying to get rid of the Windows Store content delivery network and make something that was more modern, kind of like Steam or whatever. But we'll just have to wait and see. Like, a lot of these details are still up in the air, and this isn't even a finished build. It's like it's a dev build or whatever. So I guess we'll find out more at the end of the month what that means for gaming and what that means for Xbox, if anything at all.
Yeah. Steven Boxy says, "Bias is real. Look at the praise for Nintendo today." I'm sure the Nintendo thing was fine. It definitely couldn't have been worse than any of the other shows. And if Nintendo fans are excited, that's all that really matters. I'm not a Nintendo fan, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if you're a Nintendo fan and you watched it and you're excited for Metroid and Breath of the Wild 2, is Breath of the Wild 2 this year, Jez? Do you know, or did they say next year?
I think they said it was next year, 2022.
Yeah.
But then Jason Schreier said that means it'll be delayed to 2023.
Jeez.
Jokingly,
yeah, of course.
But maybe he's probably right.
Untitled said, "Need a spreadsheet to keep track of all incoming exclusives. Can't expect much from gaming journalists if they can't even beat tutorial at the Cuphead tutorial." Faisal says, "Silent Hills news is fake news, so don't worry." Okay, so there's something going on with Silent Hills that people were trying to spread that's fake. Okay.
What happened to Metal Gear Solid coming to Xbox?
Yeah,
man?
what happened to all that? What happened to Metal Gear Solid? Hey, well, what happened to acquisitions? Because remember, what happened to your 26 shrimp? Before we get into this stuff, guys,
I was talking about shrimp.
Before we get into this, make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell. all that good stuff, right? So, before we get into everything, Jez, explain to the people what the shrimp stuff was, because you go back and watch the Friday show, it was nothing but shrimp in the chat. People were swearing that this was some insider stuff about, hey, shrimp have 26 legs. Guess what? That means Xbox is going to add 3 more studios. And people were so sure it meant something when, what did it really mean, Jez? Tell the people what the Xbox shrimp really stood for.
Nothing. There was nothing. What actually happened was, I'd been awake for 30 hours, right, on Saturday night. And I was setting up the Windows Central Discord, which, by the way, if you want an invite to the Windows Central Discord, just drop me a DM on Twitter and I'll get you in. Or you can go to discord.gg/Windows Central. It's pretty much public. But I was setting up the Windows Central Discord, and I found this emoji that was a shrimp with a laughing face. I don't know if you've seen the joy shrimp emoji, but it was hilarious to me. 30 hours of sleep deprivation, and I was laughing at this joy shrimp emoji for like 20 minutes. And then I photoshopped an Xbox logo on it and tweeted it out, because that was hilarious to me when I'd only had like 2 hours sleep in the last 48. And yeah, so the shrimp emoji was just me losing my mind. That's all it was.
And then you led the people astray. You led them astray, Jez.
I led everyone astray. And then I thought it was hilarious because people were asking Jeff Grubb and Nick and some other Xbox insiders what the shrimp emoji was. And I was just like, oh man, you need to ask Special Nick what the shrimp emoji is. And like he got like 100 DMs of people asking what the shrimp was. Oh man, I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, you did him bad. I knew what it was. Nobody DM'd me, so thank you for not DMing me, because I get a ton of DMs I try to answer every day. Dovikin says, "We sure shrimp is a real thing, Lord Jez?"
Huh?
He says, "Are we sure the shrimp is a real thing, Lord Jez?" He just explained it. It meant nothing.
But there was also like, it was really funny because the Yakuza trailer had Nancy the crawfish.
I did see that.
Did
yeah.
you see that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, that's like perfect. But honestly, it was nothing. It wasn't even anything to do with that. It was literally just sleep deprivation and losing my mind. That's all it was.
Yeah, a gun's a gun. Says Jez, can you share what do you use to get that high?
Video games, baby.
Yeah,
video games. But if you wanna troll Special Nick, go and ask Special Nick on Twitter what the shrimp emoji is.
Yeah, just add him on Twitter. DM him. Just add him on Twitter and be like, "What does the shrimp mean?" Jez says to ask you. And let's just get a whole bunch of people so you can wake up to all these notifications so you can be super pissed. Be like, "Hey, Rand and Jez said to ask you what the Xbox shrimp means." And then we'll say, regards from the Xbox 2 or something.
Yeah, and then like, oh my god, and then Xbox Pope made a shrimp controller, and like dozens of people have bought the shrimp controller.
And it literally means nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's so funny.
It's Xbox Shrimp. It's my new mascot.
Remember
Xbox
the
Shrimp.
Xbox Lizard from years back?
Yeah, like I really liked Xbox Lizard, but man, they didn't want to use it because of that lizard hacking group or whatever.
Yeah, I remember at the time. Yeah.
So now it's Xbox Shrimp. That's the new Xbox Shrimp is the new mascot of Xbox 2 podcast.
Yeah. Justin says Nintendo had a good show too, almost as good as Microsoft's. Almost is the key word. Brett says, I heard there is a second chance for Xbox on Thursday for more gameplay. Any chance we could possibly see some acquisition announcements there? I mean, I don't know. The acquisition stuff it's always touch and go. We'll talk about that when we talk about, the Thursday stuff. Ghetto Smurf says, do you guys think we'll ever get a No One Lives Forever sequel from Monolith? Probably not, I would imagine. Probably not. Yeah, so you know what? Let's dig into the show, Jez. We're going to get through this as fast as we can, but there's some individual stuff that I kind of want to talk about in each one of these things. Like, for instance, let's just give me a pat on the back, pat on the back. because I called them opening up the show with Starfield and Todd Howard. I called that stuff. I felt very confident in it because Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase. I just was like, you know what? They acquired Bethesda. They need to really hammer home the message that clearly the Bethesda games are exclusive, and that's exactly what they did. They did it at the start of the conference, and they did it once again at the end of the conference. They bookended it. And I should have realized that when I said that Halo would close. I should have been smart enough to realize that they would close with the Arcane game and then reiterate that the game was exclusive. I should have freaking realized that, but I didn't because I was like, well, Halo's got to be an opener and a closer, and it wasn't. It was in the middle. So
I honestly thought it was weird that they closed with Project Omen. I thought they would have closed with Forza. But like I guess by what you said, by closing with an Arcane game, a Bethesda game, essentially that is exclusive, it continues that message, which is really the message they wanted to leave people with. If you're a fan of Arcane games, those immersive simulation shooter kind of games, then those games are going to be exclusive to Xbox moving forward. And I think maybe they wanted to end with that rather than Forza, which probably makes sense, right? Although Rand, actually, that's a lie. They didn't end with Project Omen, did they? They ended with the Xbox fridge.
Oh yeah, the Xbox fridge, the mini fridge, yeah.
The Xbox fridge was the latest exclusive.
Yeah, it was.
You gonna get one?
Yeah, I'll probably get one. Maybe. We'll see. Radimus says, shrimp gained a place next to the bone cream. I definitely need to get an emoji for shrimp, the Xbox shrimp. King Device says, shrimp for the Xbox mini. I may not have an open slot, though, because YouTube has this thing where you can only have so many emojis, and then you need to get more members before you can add another one. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that everyone should become a channel member so we can get more emojis?
Yeah, the more channel members that we have, the more emojis that we can use. 100%. That's exactly what it is. And I forget how many it is to the next one where I can unlock the next emote thing. Jesse Darby says, "Is Contraband the game, Jez?" Yes, well, it definitely is. And Viper says, "Looking forward to seeing how Ninja Theory is doing with their upcoming games on Thursday's Xbox Game Showcase Extended." Yeah, I think that's going to be just like a video doc, which you had in your predictions, right, Jez? You said maybe we'll see it.
Yeah, I did put in my predictions from a few weeks ago that there would be some form of Hellblade update, but it would be sort of like, oh wow, Chaos joined the channel. Thanks, Chaos.
Thanks, Chaos.
Not Chaos. Flame joined the channel,
Flame.
and then said Chaos.
Ooh.
Chaos. Maybe the shrimp should be called the Chaos Shrimp. I don't know.
Shrimp.
The shrimp of chaos. But anyway, I completely lost my train of thought now. What was I even talking about? What was I talking about, Rand?
The Ninja Theory extended demo or extended video.
Oh yeah,
thing.
so yeah. In my predictions, I said that there'd be some kind of Hellblade 2 update. They were sort of like up in the air about whether to include it in the main show, I think, or whether to have it in a sort of post show. And I think at some point recently they decided we'll do some kind of like extended show, and then they'll put it in that, because I think the Hellblade thing is like it's not really showing a gameplay slice. It's just sort of showing like elements of gameplay. Maybe it's going to be similar to what they did for Dragon Age 4 is what I understand. So Dragon Age 4 had like this sort of a video doc where they were like, here's some moves, blah 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 blah, stuff like that.
Interesting. All right. What else we got here? Radimus became the newest member. Appreciate that, man. Untitled says, Todd Howard just talked about Bethesda games not coming to PlayStation and that result in them being better on Xbox. That's actually a topic. And Kruma says, have you guys played the Tunic demo? Not yet. I literally went to the Tunic demo. It's out on Xbox.
Yeah, I played it. Yeah.
Oh, how is it?
It feels really great. It looks gorgeous. It's really tight. It's really tough. There's like I don't know if it's meant to be tough or they've just added some sort of like overtuned enemy on purpose to kill you. But there's one enemy in that game that's like nearly impossible to kill. So.
Oh, you know what? I just realized I can actually create a poll in chat. I've never seen this option before.
Oh wow! It's got mixer features.
Yeah, mixer features. That's it. Because I was gonna do some custom emojis, and I noticed there's a new thing here for create a poll. So in the future we could do polls. That's cool.
Mm.
You have people vote on stuff.
How do I want to do a poll. I'm only a moderator. I can't do a poll.
Yeah, I guess not. But I can do a poll. I have the power, Jez.
Damn.
So,
power.
yeah, Starfield coming out with Todd Howard. Briefly, which is another thing I appreciated about the show, was that the talking heads that came out, Todd Howard, Sarah Bond, Pete Hines, Phil, even when the guy was given the demo of Forza Horizon, they didn't talk for very long, right? Which is appreciated. It made the pacing so much better, especially when you're looking towards the other shows that were longer, and it just made the show like flow just like so much better. And that's one of the biggest things people are talking about is how the pacing just really helped out, and how after every game essentially was Xbox Game Pass day one, except for three little games didn't make the list. But we got the Starfield teaser. Everybody's telling me to make a poll, but I don't know what to do. What kind of poll should I make? But like
people like shrimp or bone cream more.
Nah, that's nobody likes bone cream. No, nobody likes bone cream.
It's kind of like bone cream.
But anyways, you know what? I'll make a poll, Jez. You continue talking about Starfield. I'll make a poll really quickly.
Okay. Well, Starfield, man. Starfield. Even though we didn't see barely anything of Starfield, it's sort of like all the interviews and stuff that came out after the show that made Starfield my game of the show. I know for a lot of people that might have been Elden Ring, but I still haven't like found it in me to get into Dark Souls like shit. And Radimus Prime just became channel member. Thanks for that, man. So yeah, I like Elden Ring looked amazing, and I'm happy for the fans of Elden Ring and stuff. But it's not for me, at least not yet. I'm definitely going to give Dark Souls and Sekiro another try and try and get into it eventually, but not yet. So for me, all the information that came out about Starfield is what has me the most hyped right now. Like the fact that it's going to be sort of a more hardcore RPG, they said, from their recent games, which is, they talked specifically about being able to express your character, which means to me that your decisions will matter more, because, you know, a big criticism of Fallout 4 was the fact none of your choices really matter.
All right, I put out a poll. Who's your favorite Xbox 2 host, Rand or Jez?
Oh my god, that's a tough one.
We'll find out who the people truly tune in for.
Oh my god. That's like, I vote for myself. So I screwed the poll already.
Oh no, I could end the poll, but you're winning.
Oh dear. Well, I skewed the votes by voting for myself. You should vote for yourself.
Nah, that's
otherwise
okay.
It's not fair.
I always tell you that people tune in for you, that nobody cares about me on my own channel. So I'm about to be real here.
That's not true, man. Like, it's pretty evenly split, bro. And I think, like, I have an advantage because I have this sort of beautiful accent, whereas you have like this nasally sort of American accent. So, you know, you're already at a disadvantage. You know? Oh man. Well, yeah, but Starfield was my game of the show, man. But only because of the post-launch interviews. Did you read any of the Starfield post interviews?
So I did read some of the Starfield post, the interviews about, you know, there's going to be aliens and it's really hard sci-fi and all that stuff. What was the main thing you took away from all that extra info that Todd talked about Starfield?
It seemed like they wanted to address a lot of the concerns, and it sounds like they are very aware of the criticisms of some of their recent stuff. They're sort of like, they were like, yeah, there's a creation. Everyone says I lost my vote for being mean to American accents. And now we're 50-50, man, almost. So that's fair. But a lot of the stuff that Todd Howard said, they were talking about things like, you know, it's going to be more hardcore, your decisions and choices. your decisions and choices are going to be they're going to matter more. You're going to be able to express yourself more. It's going to be more of a hardcore RPG, whatever that means. And there's also like a bunch of other factors that are sort of going to go into that.
There we
That
go,
make it
Jez. The poll ended at a 50-50 with 406 votes.
well, there you go.
So yeah.
See, you can't claim it anymore. You can't claim it anymore. But anyway, yeah. So Starfield, like, they were also talking about how it's like it's only 300 years into the future, so it's sort of like it's familiar kind of tech. It's not like super science fiction that borders on the magical, you know. It's sort of like it'll be familiar tech. They call it NASA punk, kind of. It's sort of like you play as like an explorer in a faction of explorers, like one of the last explorers, and the game's going to try and answer some of humanity's big questions, like, are we alone in the universe? Is there spirituality? Is there room for spirituality in the universe? That kind of thing. So and also aliens. They talked about aliens and you know how they will play a role. Are they going to be like intelligent aliens, or are we just going to get like little animals and stuff, and there's actually like no real intelligent life out there and stuff like that?
Well, we had a gun, so we know we're gonna be killing stuff. They showed a gun, so we're definitely killing people. So, I mean, hopefully some aliens too.
They did say that there's going to be loads of human factions, and they said that like this is a classic Bethesda RPG. They've got like a huge library of lore and stuff already in the game, and they're building up this whole new universe. It's not like it's going to be a shallow game. It's going to be a classic Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Fallout style RPG with a huge amount of places to explore. And loads of other systems and features and stuff like that. So I was playing Elder Scrolls Online this week, and even though Elder Scrolls Online is really kind of janky, and it doesn't really have the sort of depth that Skyrim has, for example, it made me realize how much I miss those kind of games from Bethesda. Like, it's been so long since Skyrim came out now. I think we're coming up to 10 years, right? It's been so long since Skyrim came out, and Fallout 4 was it was good, but it sort of felt like it dialed back on the RPG systems a bit too much for me. And also, like, I hated like that a lot of my decisions didn't matter, and that, like, you could say yes or no to an outcome, and then the same thing would happen regardless. That really irritated me. That felt like they took a step backwards. And it almost felt like Fallout was more like Far Cry in that regard in some ways. But it does sound like they're going to address these concerns. They talk about the Creation 2 engine, which, addresses concerns of Bethesda needing a new engine and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for Starfield, like more so than anything else I saw at E3, I think. So
it's very interesting that they ended it with, it was a nice reveal of the date, 11/11/22, which is 11 years after the release of Skyrim. And then I saw some articles with the headline of Bethesda's Todd Howard on leaving PlayStation behind. Being able to focus will make for better games, right? If there's any more, look, they're not making any more PlayStation games, and they're going to talk about how we can just focus on Xbox and PC and make the games better for everybody. And because we're on PC and because Xbox is on mobile and Xbox is going to be on smart TVs, that their user base they can tap into is far, far a lot bigger than just PlayStation. So, I don't know, I think it's funny. And there's still people out there trying to push the narrative that the games are just going to be 1 year timed exclusive because, the lead dev was the PlayStation version and all this stupid nonsense. It's just like, yeah, you guys were wrong on this. You're going to have to get used to that fact. But yeah, it was good to open up on Starfield, nail home the exclusivity stuff. It's going to be big, man. They already dated it for next year. We'll probably get the Todd demo at the Bethesda Xbox show next year. It's gonna be an absolutely huge game. Sir Bloodraven says Jez is Azor Ahai, and then Shrimp is the Lightbringer. Thank you, Philippe Garcia. It's that's from Game of Thrones thing. Philip Garcia, thank you for the support in the super chat. Justin says, was Halo in the middle due to no release date? We'll talk about why Halo was in the middle. I think it was just in the middle because they wanted to end it. They wanted to bookend it with 2 new Bethesda games, realistically. At least that's what my thinking is. And like Halo's already been at the previous 3 ones, 3 E3s. Darren says, Starfield reminds me of Titan AE movie. And Hunter Smith says, what do you take away from the Starfield interviews? Well, according to Metro UK, it could still come to the PS5. I did see that. No, it's not coming to the PlayStation. So, yeah. People are going to just have to get over with that.
It could if PlayStation accepts Xbox Game Pass.
I mean, sure. That's, if Game Pass is on PlayStation, then yeah. If the Game Pass, if Sony would allow it, then yeah, it would be on there because of Game Pass. But it is a power move. I mean, it's just being like, listen, it's exclusive. They said it was in the artwork. Then they had Sarah Bond come out and say it was exclusive. And then Phil repeats it for Redfall. It's like, I don't know how much more. I mean, Phil was so nice about it back in March where it's like, listen, this is what they're doing. Get over it. Like, if you want to play these games, you have a lot of options. Play it on your PC. I remember when a lot of PlayStation fans said, they didn't need a Series X because Xbox puts all their games on PC. It's like, all right, well, put your money where your mouth is. You must have a PC then. You could play Starfield there. So it shouldn't matter to you that you can't play it on your PS5 because, as you guys all pointed out in the lead up to the launch of the Series X, all you PlayStation fans have a beast of a PC. Or were you lying about that? I'm confused. I'm just a little confused on that one. Dovakin says, Todd and the team seem inspired and excited. New full-blown engine and Microsoft money. Starfield sounds like the next big Bethesda game of the year. Skyrim vibes. Indeed. And then we had Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl coming out April of next year. I thought this... I always look for demos or trailers to completely sell you on something you weren't interested in. Like, we had saw a trailer for Stalker 2 last year, and I was kind of like, whatever, I don't really know much about Stalker, not that interesting, right? But I watched this demo, and I am totally sold. It reminded me a lot of the Metro games, which I love, and I know Stalker inspires Metro, not the other way around, but the gameplay that they showed off, I was watching that, and I was like, I want to play this. I love that kind of dystopian future with, like, crazy supernatural type of stuff kind of going on, or not supernatural, but like I don't know, there was that like bug that would, like, I don't know, like the radiation stuff. Like, the game looked amazing too. It truly looked like a next gen title, and I believe it is. So Stalker 2 was that game that basically I had no interest in. I saw the demo and I'm like, I'm 100% there, and I don't know anything about Stalker. What'd you think?
Well, first of all, Stalker looked incredible. Like, I did play the original, but I came in like years late, and I was trying to play it with one of those because when Stalker launched, it was notoriously buggy, but it had a lot of depth for a shooter of the time. Like, you could customize a lot of your stuff and your attachments, and it was very immersive. It was like an immersive sim, basically, almost bordering on, and it had very tight shooting mechanics for the time. But it was notoriously buggy and had loads of issues. And there were mods. The community made like massive mod packs to fix a lot of the bugs and polish certain things. But I could never get some of them to work, and I think I just ended up giving up on it. But and also my PC might have exploded at the time. I went through a period, Rand, where I just kept buying PCs and kept trying to like fix my PC, and it'd work for a few months and then just break again. Like, it was, and I had no money to buy one or fix it at the time, so that was painful. In fact, that's when I started transitioning to console, really, because like I'd bought a PC, and then it broke after. Well, I built my own PC, and it broke after a few months. Like, and I just couldn't find what was wrong with it. I replaced like every part, and it just, for some reason, just wouldn't work. So I was just like, man, I'm sick of this. I'm just buying a console now. But anyway, that was back in the day, on a slight tangent, but. Stalker 2 looks incredible, and it is super popular. I don't know if you've seen how many hits the trailer has, but like last time I looked, it was well over 1.2 million.
When they showed it off last year, it was also like a big, like, people really seemed interested in that. And Red Cloud Gamer, I did just see this on Twitter. He says GameStop will have some Series X's in stores tomorrow. I did see that. So anybody listening to the show, if you don't have your console, don't have your Series X, GameStop did put out there that they will have some Series X's in their stores tomorrow. So
Amazon had some this morning too. It feels like they saved some stock to go live until after E3. So I think there is like a wave of stock hitting various stores at the moment. Amazon UK had a bunch of Xbox Series X this morning, but I think they're all sold out now. I was trying to buy a Series X because I'm going back to Germany next month, and I was trying to get a Series X shipped to Germany, but I just can't find any stock. So I'm going to be on a Series S for a few months when I'm in Germany. So that'll be an interesting experiment. Like, can I go from a Series X to a Series S? Is it going to impact my gaming?
You could write about it, you know.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna go solo with Series S for a few months and see what happens.
Yeah. So then we had Back for Blood. Looks really cool from the Left 4 Dead devs. Turtle Rock comes a Left 4 Dead like game. But the big news from this was day one on Game Pass, October 12th. Another AAA game. After the likes of MLB The Show and Outriders. I think the game was going to be immensely helped out by being in Game Pass, so that's huge. And this was the Game Pass show. I think we had talked about this beforehand. I really think a lot of people are starting to come around, or at least recognize Microsoft's strategy with Game Pass, because you have all these games, all 30 of these that they showed off, 27 of them in Game Pass. And when you actually start then being like, well, where should I buy these games, right? It becomes this thing of, well, I could buy them on PlayStation, but now that's a lot of money. Back 4 Blood's $60, right? Battlefield, yeah. Then we have like something like 12 Minutes or Psychonauts 2. Hades was also announced. Like all these, like if you're planning on playing a lot of games, it's kind of like, wait a minute, there's a lot of money to be saved here. It's not just Xbox's first party. The idea here that Microsoft showed off like 27 games that you essentially don't have to pay for outside of a monthly subscription is mind-blowing to a lot of people. And, Xbox has been doing this for a couple of years now, but it really seemed like this showing really kind of sold the idea. And I think maybe it has to do with the fact that people are now starting to buy $70 games. Where they're like, I just bought Ratchet and Clank, and with taxes, it cost me like $77, right? So instead of being the $70 thing sort of being like, we know it's coming, but it's not here yet, and now it's here and people have been buying $70 games, they see what Game Pass is doing and they see all the games that they essentially will get for the price of subscription, I think it speaks more volumes to people now being like, oh yeah, that is a lot of money. $76 for one game could pay for essentially 7 months of Game Pass, and I'd have all this stuff. Do you think that factors into it, Jez?
Yeah, definitely. I think Forbes had an article up this week that sort of did some of the math around some of this stuff. And like if you're looking at first party only, they were like, well, if you want to get first party only on Sony's platform, presuming all the games are $70, you'd have to spend over $800 over 3 years. But on Xbox, if you just have Xbox Game Pass, then you're spending like $300, $360 or something like that over 3 years. And that doesn't even include like third party games that are going to be hitting the service. Because let's face it, there's going to be more Outriders. There's going to be more MLB The Show, and also you get like if you can wait a few weeks, like you'll get Battlefield in there eventually. Like Battlefield definitely hit Game Pass through EA Access eventually. Even if it's not there at launch, it will get there eventually. So like the argument of saving over time is just absurdly good. And I think right now, a lot of people our age especially are sort of like, they're thinking more about their future and what they want to spend their money on ultimately. And there's a huge amount of people who are getting into stocks and shares right now. Like retail investments become really big. So there's kind of like, especially for me, there's sort of an argument to be made. Like, would I take that $500 and spend them on PlayStation games, or would I just save the money, get Xbox Game Pass, and put that $500 into a 500 index fund, or or cryptocurrency or something? It just doesn't make sense. And the money argument is gospel. The money argument is something that you just cannot compete with, unless you're like super rich and you're someone who just can throw away $500 like it's nothing. and a lot of us can, but like, I think as we're getting older, I know I'm getting older, and I'm about 35, you know, and you're like pushing 50, 60, 70,
Shut
you
up.
know. So it's like, you know, we have to think about our future. Mortality is real, man, and we need to save money. But you're gonna have to save money for, like, you know, getting all, like, you know, people helping you out and stuff, because you're getting a bit old now and stuff. And you know, I'm gonna, you know, look. So sorry, man. So I could just sort of feel your hatred through the screen
You keep
right
on
now.
calling me. You keep on calling me old.
Rand old Thor 19.
Yeah. Jeez. Thanks, Jez.
Oh man, is shrimp coming to Game Pass? Paris says. If only, man. Like there really should be a shrimp game. I feel
Yeah, I put up a
like
new
at least
poll because I was interested in this one, Jez. Which next gen system do you own? The Series X, the Series S, or don't have one yet but plan on it? Because I kind of wanted to see the breakdown of what people have currently right now. So that'd be interesting. Richard says, I don't think people get the fact that Bethesda games are exclusive until The Elder Scrolls 6 comes out as Xbox exclusive. Bethesda will carry Xbox 2022. They definitely will. You have Starfield and Redfall next year, when realistically we're not even sure what Xbox Game Studios has next year besides Forza Motorsport. So that is absolutely true. So yeah, like Game Pass, I think is starting to change people's perception around the brand. The show, like if you go look at Jeff Keighley's poll, it's like 50% A, like 34% B. So it's like 80%, it's like 80% of the people thought it was an A or a B. They thought it was an amazing show. You go look at IGN's, I think they have like a poll up where it was like, what's the best show of E3? And like Xbox was winning. Like this was the show Xbox needed to put on. And like I rated it an 8 originally, but then I rewatched it in 4K and my score went up because the stream was so much better. Like I tried watching, like I was watching it on stream and it was just like Forza Horizon 5 looked really good, but then like when I watched it on my TV in 4K, I'm like, oh my god, the show is even better. So I put it up to an 8.5, almost a 9. Like it's a B plus, A minus, essentially Xbox's best show, I think. And
yeah, I think like especially the post show stuff. Like I think like when I came out of the show, I was like, yeah, that was a good 8. That was a solid 8. But then like after seeing some of the Starfield interviews and some of the interviews they did about other stuff, I was like, I'm pushing a 9 now. For like if we're counting like the show itself and some of the post show information, like the E3 sort of season. For me, this might be Microsoft's best E3 since I've been covering Xbox anyway. I didn't even know what E3 was before I started covering gaming, you know, Rand. I had no awareness of what it was. I don't know if that's because it's bigger in the US maybe than it is in the UK, or at least back then, like 10 years ago or whatever. But I didn't even know what E3 was. Like I'd never heard of it. So like since I've been covering Xbox, which is since about 2012-ish, this is probably the best E3 overall that they've ever put on for me.
100%. And the best thing about it is next year's is going to be even better, because next year they're going to be able to show Hellblade and Avowed and Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3 and more Bethesda
Maybe
games.
Project Dragon.
Yeah, like so it's like it's just Contraband gameplay next time. Redfall. It's
It's going to be big. It's going to be big. And then God knows what else. Like there's still so much we don't know. What's In Exile working on? What's Compulsion working on?
Yep, Compulsion
and
will
there's
be
so
there.
much. Yeah. There's just so much to look forward to right now from Xbox. And this is the potential Xbox always had if they'd funded it properly from the start.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
This is the potential they always had. And it's not like Microsoft couldn't afford to do it. Even back then, they could afford to do it. They just didn't because of ideological reasons. Because they didn't want to be seen as a kiddie gaming company or something. Like, Steve Ballmer really, like, yeah, he like saved Xbox from the Red Ring of Death, but he didn't have the vision to transform Xbox in the way that Phil Spencer has transformed Xbox.
100%,
Phil Spencer
100% agree.
deserves. Yeah, Phil wouldn't agree with this. Like, I know, like he always talks about the fact that he's got a huge team behind him, and he does. Like, the whole Xbox team is incredible. But I honestly feel like Phil deserves a huge amount of credit because ultimately it's Phil answering directly to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, which has unlocked this potential that Xbox always had but could never realize because of internal politics, ultimately. It's purely because of internal politics that Xbox never reached this level of excitement and this level of potential. And we're finally getting it realized now. And it feels amazing. It feels amazing to be an Xbox fan right now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so excited for the future of this platform. And it feels really great to say. Like we've been really sort of like sort of I updated my Xbox Series X review because it's been 6 months since it came out, and some of the stuff I wrote in that's completely out of date now, like because they've updated it and fixed things and stuff like that. So I thought I'd update my review, um, which we do for hardware, not games, but we do it for hardware. So I updated my review for people who are looking to buy it now, and I just realized, like reading that review from 6 months ago, how negatively I felt about the future of the games platform. Like I wrote like repeatedly that Microsoft hasn't proven that they can make games that are photorealistic, or Microsoft hasn't proven that it can sort of, make these sort of big exclusivity plays that Sony are putting out, and that whole narrative just been destroyed this week. Like Halo Infinite looks great, Forza Horizon 5 looks cutting edge, and Starfield is exclusive, and
Mm-hmm.
it's an incredible time, man. It's an incredible time.
It is indeed an incredible time. I love it. I absolutely love it. Zero Pile says it's just good to see so many people be positive about Halo. I haven't seen this much hype for Halo. Send Halo 3 Bravo, Microsoft, and 343. That's right. Last year is definitely last year was pretty bad for Halo, and this year, like, everybody seems super pumped. Lady Foxfire, what's going on, Lady Foxfire? She says, after watching E3, I'm now ready to upgrade to the Series X. You will definitely enjoy it whenever you get your system because it is such a fantastic system. 60 frames on virtually everything. It's definitely the best system I think Microsoft has ever made. Irreverent Gun says Xbox Series X and S is available in GameStop stores tomorrow. We already talked about that. So if you're looking for get a console, make sure you head over to GameStop. I don't know if you got to camp out or anything, but definitely try to get one. One Bad Mother, what's going on, brother? He says, Phil unlocked the shrimp era of Xbox. Great show as always, friends. Thank you. Yeah, we got the poll, Jez. And right now we have 578 votes, 580 votes. 71% of people have a Series X, 9% of people have a Series S, and 20% of people don't have one yet but plan on it. So
That's a lot of people who like
mm-hmm.
are stuck without being able to get stock, maybe potentially and stuff like that. Like I do often wonder like how much further out would Sony and Xbox be in terms of install base if there was actually stock,
Mm-hmm.
because you got to remember, loads of people are still stuck at home. There's like in the UK, there are still lots of businesses on furlough right now, and like nightclubs are not allowed to be opened and stuff like that. So there's still a significant portion of especially in the West, especially, which is where Xbox is most successful. There's still a significant portion of people who are still on furlough, working from home and stuff like that. And there's still like a wave of interest in gaming that has sort of been boosted by the pandemic. And Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo to some degree, they haven't been able to get the chips in order to meet demand. And it really kind of sucks. On one hand, they've got like this massive boost from the pandemic, from just like digital sales and stuff, but I feel like the install base for console would be so much bigger and better for PlayStation and Xbox and Nintendo if it wasn't for this like semiconductor thing. So hopefully that gets sorted sooner rather than later, because alas, here we are. And also, Microsoft's been holding back a lot of chips for upgrading xCloud because, as we know, they said last week that the Series X upgrade to xCloud is currently rolling out, and it should be completed relatively soon. So that's like potentially tens of thousands of Xboxes that are being slotted into server farms instead of going out to the public right now.
Yeah.
But yeah. I've heard, Rand.
Oh, what did you hear? What did you hear? Any leaks you could drop on us, Jez?
Well, it's not so much a leak, but I've heard that if you play xCloud on a Series X blade, it barely feels different to the real thing.
Really?
Because the Series X has overheads for encoding video, whereas the Xbox One server blades don't. So when you're playing an intensive game that's 3D on the Xbox One, it's using processing power to encode the video at the same time, which is where you get latency. That's why games with a fixed camera or a 2D perspective run better on Xbox One based xCloud, because they're not using that overhead for video encoding, because obviously the game takes priority. But the Series X does have overhead for video encoding, which means that you can play like fully 3D games with the latency that you get on a 2D game with xCloud right now, which is way better. I was playing Monster Sanctuary on xCloud earlier, and it basically feels native. Like, you can't tell the difference, but it's a very simple looking game. So like it's not using that video encoding overhead and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just, there's so much love for it right now. I'm really loving the Surface Duo.
You love it. You love it. I love it. I love it when Jez is positive. Because there was a couple weeks ago where
why do people love this game? Like, I can't understand. Like, you can't even chainsaw anyone in half. What's the point of a game where you can't chainsaw someone? Nah. But I grew up with Doom and Unreal Tournament. Unreal Tournament especially was hyper violent. That's how I like my shooters. I like them to be hyper violent. It's a me thing. It's not a Halo thing.
Right. And then here, the next game they showed is your Project Typhoon, Jez. Another W in your column for leaks. Contraband with Avalanche. The game didn't really show much. We know it's a co-op open world, but you had some more information about it. So what exactly is Contraband, aka Project Typhoon?
Right. So a few people were asking me like, what was the typhoon emoji? Was that shown off? And yeah, it was Contraband. I didn't know what the game was. All I know was the code name and the fact that Avalanche were making it and stuff. Typhoon was Contraband. That's the game's name. I do have some exclusive details up about Contraband on Windows Central, but just so they didn't reveal much about it at the show. But basically, from what I understand, and bear in mind that some of these documents that I got about Contraband are old, so some gameplay elements might have changed when it comes to launch. But the game's like a third-person open-world action game. It's kind of like it's a third-person open-world action game, and it's sort of like the social hubs, and you can like meet other players there and team up, and it's all about smuggling. It's set on a fictional Southeast Asian island, which I think might be where Typhoon comes from. Maybe there's going to be weather effects and like typhoons maybe in the game. I don't know, but it's sort of like Just Cause in the sense that it's all about crazy action stuff like that. But it's less about shooting and blowing things up. It's more about planning heists and smuggling runs. So like you plan a heist to steal stuff with your friends, and then you execute the smuggling run while being chased by the authorities, rival gangs, and stuff like that. And they don't necessarily want to kill you. They want to steal your loot. So they don't try and blow you up. They don't try and blow up your car. They try and push you off the road. They try and set up roadblocks, and they try and shoot your tires. They don't necessarily try and shoot you. So it's more like a tactical sort of, almost like a tactical vehicular combat game. Although it does have guns, I think, and there is shooting in it, but I think it's sort of de-emphasized over the vehicular combat. So, and also the documents describe that the documents literally say this: if your vehicle in Contraband is sort of like how Tony Stark sees his Iron Man suit. Your vehicle is like your Swiss Army knife, and you can kit it out, and there's going to be like gadgets and stuff to sabotage enemies, stuff like that. And I think there is a story campaign. There's sort of like, it's in these documents anyway. They talk about like a corrupt sort of royal family which run the island called the Vong, I think they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, they're like sort of like a corrupt sort of dictators, I believe, something like that. So there is a story campaign as well, I believe. But I don't know how heavy the story is. I don't know if it's sort of like supplementary or if it's like going to be a full-blown campaign. You'll have to wait for more details on that, I think. But it sounds really exciting. It sounds really interesting. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more about it. So, keep your eye on Contraband, like, because honestly, Mad Max and Rage 2, for all their flaws, they had the best. They had like some of the best vehicular combat in a game. I think, like it was so satisfying in Mad Max to shun someone off the road during like some of those like epic chase scenes and some of the convoys and stuff like that. So, um, I'm really excited about it and stuff like that. So,
Excellent. Yeah, it sounds super cool. But the acquisition talk surrounding. Well, I guess we'll get into the acquisition talk after I read a couple of super chats here. Gamer Gone Rogue says Series S worth it for Game Pass. What do you think, Jez? I mean, I guess if you're not someone who has a 4K TV yet, then yeah, I think Series S is probably worth it for Game Pass. You might have to like download and delete a whole bunch of games as you're playing them because the hard drive's really small. But I guess it really depends on what you want out of it, realistically, right?
yeah,
If like, I think it would be a perfect Game Pass machine, but I don't actually have a Series S. I have a Series X, so and I do think Series S's are a little bit more available than Series X's. It seems like I've seen. I don't know about that, but it really depends on your setup. Like if you have a 4K TV, I'd recommend the Series X. If you play a lot of games, I'd recommend the Series X. But if you don't have any of that stuff, like if you just want to dabble in Game Pass and have a 1080p TV, it seems like Series S is the way to go. And then eventually, if you want to, you could trade it in and upgrade to a Series X when you upgrade your TV. Shabs says, since the lockdown, I'm based permanently to work from home, and I love it. I have my Series X work and play. Love the show, guys. Watch it every week. Thank you for always watching. It means a lot to us. Wagerman says, what are your thoughts on the speculation that Elden Ring was at a non-E3 event like Summer Games Fest and not Xbox because Bandai didn't want to upset Sony? Jez, you want to answer this one?
I have no idea. I don't have any information about this stuff. There's some rumors. I think like they stem from sort of some of Jeff Grubb's tweets about it. So that's ultimately like Jeff Grubb's information about this stuff. So you sort of have to think like some of these things sort of come via word of mouth, and maybe they're true, maybe they're not true, maybe it's Chinese whispers and exaggerated and assumptions being made, but it does feel really weird, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder if like, thinking about the show, it was slightly shorter than 90
It
minutes, wasn't
was. That was my first thought. If it was planned, Elden Ring was originally supposed to be at the Xbox show, and that's
it?
why
Yeah.
it wasn't exactly 90 minutes, and why they kind of did the outro and then came in with the Xbox mini fridge. Because I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of weird. So I thought to myself, well, maybe Elden Ring was supposed to be there, slotted in, and then for whatever reason, they switched it to, Jeff Keighley's show. Maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chinook Guy wants to know, can you push weight, as in drugs and contraband?
Well, I have no idea if you can deal drugs and drugs, so watch this space, I guess. There's nothing in the documents about drugs, but I presume it's going to be a mature rated game because it's about crime essentially. But I don't know if it's like you're smuggling because of the dictatorship that's going on, and you're trying to get like goods through or something. But what the documents make it sound like is that this fictional island, is kind of like a sort of, I don't know, it's like a modern day piracy haven. It's like it's just become like a place where modern day piracy takes place. So maybe there'll be gangs that do deal in drugs and stuff like that, and maybe there'll be gangs that sort of don't deal in drugs and stuff like that, or do like maybe there's different kinds of contraband. I don't know, but it sounds like it's all about smuggling. It's all about heists and stuff like that. So just have to wait and see, right?
Right. I got another poll going up because I wanted to ask people something. All right, so what we got here? Zero Pile says, I thought the Xbox storage was small. My God, I can only get 3 games on the PS5 storage. Yeah, they still don't have that storage solution yet. Armin's Tech Talk says, Rand and Jez, do you guys think that Microsoft will get rid of or roll into the Xbox Store the Bethesda Game Store app? I don't know about that, honestly. Maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know. But the poll's up. I wanted to know what was your favorite announcement from the Xbox Bethesda show. And I only have 4 options to put here, right? So I have Halo Infinite, I have Starfield, I have all the Game Pass Day 1 stuff, or something else. I would have added Redfall or whatever, but like obviously not that many different options I can choose from. So let me know what was your favorite announcement for the show for you guys. Let's see. Sea of Thieves had a very interesting trailer, Jez, with Johnny Depp and Disney teaming up. Davy Jones going to be in there. Actually, really, I've seen a lot of tweets from people saying that like they might actually consider checking it out now. Not Sea of Thieves fans, but that looks like a high quality expansion with Jack Sparrow and stuff. So that was really interesting, and it definitely does seem that Xbox has a very good relationship with Disney. So
yes,
maybe we'll see more Disney collabs, Lucasfilm collabs in the future. Maybe a Star Wars game or something.
That'd be rad. Who would you give? Which studio would you give Star Wars to? What kind of game would you have them make?
Star Wars, like I've always said, man, if the Coalition could make a Mandalorian game, that would be killer.
That would be killer.
That'd be something I would want. But like, I don't know. I mean, let Obsidian do Knights of the Old Republic. I know there's like a remake of the first one, but have them do a new one or something. So that'd be super cool. Yakuza Like a Dragon added to Game Pass, so the entire series is on Game Pass. Battlefield 2042 gameplay looked so good. And that was the first game that wasn't coming to Game Pass, Jez. So I guess I got to ask the question. I've seen this come up in chat. Do we think that Battlefield 2042 will be hitting Game Pass on day 1? Eventually, maybe Microsoft makes the announcement a month before the game comes out, maybe a couple weeks. Maybe they just don't want to because they got Back for Blood on the 12th and Battlefield is the 22nd, so that maybe they feel like they don't want those 2 big games the same month. How are you feeling about the realistic probability of Battlefield 2042 being Game Pass day 1 at this point?
I think there's a decent probability of that happening. I mean, it might be something like they don't want to announce it early because pre-order sales is something that they like having, and maybe they feel like it'll hurt the pre-order sales if they do that. They also have like loads of different versions for Battlefield and stuff like that. There's like Ultimate Edition and all that sort of stuff. I think there is a possibility that Battlefield would come to Game Pass because you have to remember, and I can't remember who made this point, but was it someone on our last show? They were saying that like it's weird because Battlefield is going up against the likes of Fortnite and they're going up against the likes of Call of Duty Warzone, which are both free. And the argument of a $70 premium shooter is sort of somewhat diminished, especially since it doesn't have a campaign. So maybe they'll be like, but maybe Battlefield EA will think, well, we can capture that audience by joining Game Pass potentially. Once we figure out what the pre-order levels are like, because I think when most people pre-order, they're locked in. They ain't gonna back out of their pre-order. So maybe they want to wait to see what pre-orders are like before they commit into Game Pass or something like that. But it could go either way. I think like it probably, if I had to guess, I'd say it probably won't happen. Seems too good to be true. Seems like a lot of money. But who knows, man? Like Microsoft have been delivering for us lately. Who would have thought MLB The Show would hit Xbox day 1 in Game Pass with the PlayStation Studios logo on it? Literally nobody. Nobody thought that was going to happen. So, anything can happen right now. Microsoft's really, being aggressive. So, what do you think? Do you think it will? I think it won't. Million man with $1 million question.
Well, I knew it wasn't going to be announced at E3. I think there is a possibility because I think it makes a lot of sense, especially when their competition, like, I don't care about it being $70 a multiplayer only, but I think a lot of people do. And a lot of their competition is going to be free to play, like Halo Infinite's multiplayer or Call of Duty and Warzone, right? And even when you look at it for dollar, it's just Battlefield, $70, 7 maps, but then Call of Duty is going to be $70 with the story campaign and like co-op zombies and regular multiplayer plus a free Warzone. It definitely seems like Battlefield is is out of position when it comes to value for your money. So it almost feels like this is going to be one of those games where it needs Game Pass, essentially. I just don't know if EA would be willing to like lose out on the sales that they would get. And I don't know if EA looks at it like, hey, you have Back 4 Blood on Game Pass 2 weeks before. We want to be the big game for Game Pass. So, you know, like, because I kind of feel like there's the sort of arrogance like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think discussions can still happen. We're still months and months away from it being announced. We do know that, like, Ultimate members will be able to get the 10-hour trial. So you'll be able to play the game for 10 hours to see if you want to spend the $70 on it. But, like, I don't know. I sort of feel like they need to kind of do this to see the reception they would get for being in Game Pass. And I don't know. I feel like they're like when you compare it to other games, they're just not in a good position. Even though the gameplay looked fantastic, it looked amazing. I'm just not sure people they're gonna be looking at that and being like, no, I'm still gonna stick with COD, or I'm still gonna stick with Apex, or I'm still gonna stick with Fortnite, or I'm gonna be sticking with Halo simply because it's cheaper. And I think that really does matter to people.
Yeah,
Bernard says, I believe EA will get pre-orders and then take that number to Microsoft 2 to 3 weeks before launch to figure out what they want before release. It's possible they could be like, listen, we got all these pre-order numbers. You need to pay us for this amount. Geezer Prime says, EA wants as much engagement as possible for the sweet microtransactions. Make EA Play, if not Game Pass. I mean, we know it's going to be an EA Play 6 months later, but people want it day one.
Yep.
Then the indie game of the show for me, 12 minutes. I've been waiting for so long to play this game, Jez. Finally, August 19th, and August is a packed month because you also got Psychonauts 2 finally coming from Double Fine on the 25th. And Psychonauts 2 looks like it could be really fun. Looks a lot better.
I've heard that game is much bigger than people might be expecting. I've heard it has like dozens of hours of content, not like a dozen hours of content. Don't know how true that is, so take it with a pinch of salt. But I've heard it's a pretty big game. So like I was like worried in a way for 12 minutes because 12 minutes launches back to back with I think they launched within the same week of each other somewhere like that. And I was thinking, man, I was kind of like thinking, man, that kind of sucks for 12 minutes. But then I suppose 12 minutes only takes 12 minutes to complete, right? Right. No, I'm joking.
Actually, I was Randall muted there. Nobody could hear me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because
you didn't say anything.
Because Shakespeare was barking up a storm upstairs. Yeah, but no, but it's not just 12 minutes in Psychonauts. Hades is coming the week before 12 minutes. Finally, Hades, one of the biggest games from last year, got a lot of the Game of the Year nominations. Finally coming to Xbox and PlayStation, but is day one on Game Pass. I cannot wait to play it. So you're going to have Hades on the 13th of August, 12 minutes on the 19th of August, Psychonauts 2 on August 25th. So that's 3, or at least, well, depending on 12 minutes. I'm really looking forward to it. That's a couple big games right there for Game Pass in August, which I think is absolutely awesome. Like, I cannot wait to play 12 minutes because I'm a sucker for like sci-fi time travel, time loop stuff. So, I'm so looking forward to that. All right. What else we got? They announced Pete Hines came out to announce more Bethesda games on Game Pass, like Doom 2016 and Evil Within 2. The poll's over, by the way. So people's favorite announcements was all the day one Game Pass stuff. 38%, Halo Infinite 33%, something else 14%, and Starfield 13% with 630 votes. So people are starting to really enjoy playing games for essentially $10 a month and getting all this good stuff. Doom Eternal's getting a next gen upgrade at the end of the month. Fallout 76 they talked about being one of the more popular games on Xbox, and it's getting an expansion next year with the Pit. They talked a little bit about Elder Scrolls Online. Party Animals coming next year, Jez, 2022. Looks a lot like Gang Beasts.
Yep.
Somerville. This game really spoke to me because I am a fan of...
Playdead.
Playdead, and this is a guy who left Playdead, formed his own studio. Reminded me a lot of Inside Limbo. So I am there day one. And then finally we come to Halo. Finally, and this is where I was getting a little bit worried, right? You're like, okay, here's Halo. How's it gonna like play out? Are we gonna have more memes like last year with Craig all over the place and people talking about all the pop-in and how horrible it looked and all that stuff, right? I was kind of like worried in my head. Then I thought, man, Halo's in the middle? What are they ending with? Because in my prediction video, I said it was going to end the show. And man, did they absolutely nail it. Bonnie Ross was out there with Joseph Staten, and Joseph Staten just gets Halo more than anybody. I'm so happy he's the creative director at the studio, and I think if Halo really nails it and is super successful, I wouldn't be surprised to see Joseph Staten become the studio head of 343, to be honest with you. He's just
I was gonna say, how long is it before Joseph Staten is literally running Halo?
Yeah.
The dude, I have no idea why he wasn't running Halo. Like maybe he was just doing other
Well,
things
he was at Bungie for a bit, obviously doing the Destiny stuff. He came back to Xbox to do some other things, but like obviously 343 already had their structure, and then of course the game got delayed, and it was all hands on deck, and they put him into it, and it definitely seems a good leadership is important, people. Like leadership is so important to everything, and I think for a long time 343 had just poor leadership, poor vision, which trickles down to everything else. But I think Joseph Staten's going to come in there and make everything better. Carlos says Xbox is going to clean up PC sales. Oh man, Halo Infinite's going to do so well, and it's not even like it needs to sell that well because like it's the multiplayer's free. CMAD said next big third-party game to Game Pass will be Madden 22. Microsoft, an official NFL sponsor, and the deal will be cut. I mean, that's definitely a big possibility, right? So they showed a little bit a cutscene of Halo where Master Chief was like kind of sort of flying through the sky or in space, used the grapple hook. Really like how they're going with that God of War style single camera, right, where it's always on something and doesn't cut away. And we got to see Master Chief meet his new AI companion that sort of sounds just like Cortana. I don't know what's going on there, but when that Halo music, wait, what, Jez?
Sorry, I was gonna say, I was literally gonna ask you about that. Like, what the hell is going on with Cortana?
Well, she was the main
Cortana
villain.
Cortana was deleted.
Well, I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder. Oh,
like what?
It's funny because all of a sudden, there we go. Like it was recording some Ainsley's podcast from last week, so that was weird. Sorry about that.
Podcast.
Your professional podcast. Thanks for pointing that out, Stodgy. Appreciate that, man. So what was I gonna say? When they started playing the music, yeah, man, I got chills being a Halo fan. It's my favorite franchise. And then they started to talk about the multiplayer, right? That it's free to play. That Joseph Staten was, excited to announce that the multiplayer and the campaign would launch together, and which they still didn't give a date. Jez, do you have any reason or any clue? I have an idea in my head about why they're just saying holiday 2021 when you have Starfield literally already have a date a year and a half from now.
Well, I did say earlier, I think you might have been distracted by the Doge, but I did say earlier that I think they're strategizing around Call of Duty.
Okay. Yeah, you did say that. So you think that's what it is? They want to know when Call of Duty comes out so they can kind of work around it?
Yeah, that's my belief. That might be completely off base, but that's what I personally think could be going on there. What do you think?
Here's my theory. Okay, so Microsoft was quick to point out how they have a game like every month coming to Game Pass. We have Flight Sim coming in July. There's Hades and Psychonauts 2 coming in August. There was nothing coming in September. October had Back 4 Blood, and November has Forza Horizon. So in my head, I'm thinking to myself, There's not a game in September. And so my head immediately went to the rumors that we both had heard about a possible release date for Halo, September or November. So to me, I'm thinking that they're trying to release Halo Infinite for September, but they aren't sure they can make it yet. They're trying, but they don't know if they can hit September. So what they can say is it's coming holiday 2021. And if it needs to be delayed, right? Like if they would have came out and said, hey, it's coming September 5th, but then to find out they need an extra 2 weeks, and then they would have to delay it again. That the reason they keep on saying, holiday or whatever is because they don't want to publicly delay it again. And then Radimus says September's not holiday though, but that's an easy fix. All you have to say is, we know everybody's excited to play Halo. We said it's coming holiday, but it's coming even before that. The game will launch in September, right? Like that's an easy fix, right? So realistically though, I think it's just because they're not sure they have, and whenever they are sure, they can come out and say it and do the line of like, we said holiday, but guess what? We have a surprise for you. It's coming even earlier than holiday. It'll be here in September. And then it kind of fits all together. It's got enough distance from Forza Horizon 5 and Battlefield and Call of Duty. And they can do a second round of marketing for the Xbox 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's how I feel about that. But no, and then they had the multiplayer overview, which looked great. All the gameplay they showed of it looked fantastic. The stuff they're doing with the Battle Pass, Jez, I hope other developers take notice.
So tell us about the Battle Pass in more depth, because I honestly.
So most Battle Passes are just for the season, right? Call of Duty has seasons, Fortnite has seasons, and the Battle Passes you buy, you play through it, you unlock stuff, but once the season's over, the Battle Pass is over, right? And you can't earn any of the stuff that you missed out on. Now, of course, all these games also give you the option of buying the entire Battle Pass. So you can just get everything from the Battle Pass for whatever amount of money it is, and it's usually expensive. So what Halo's doing, which is different, is once you buy the Battle Pass, it never expires. So even though the season might be over, you can continue to earn the cosmetics and all the rewards from the Battle Pass from a previous season. And you can choose which Battle Passes you want to kind of put your experience towards. So you'll never miss out on something. And they also said that they won't allow people to buy everything from the Battle Pass like all the other games do. So if you see somebody wearing some cool armor, you know that they actually earned it instead of actually paying for it. But it's definitely an interesting change because Battle Pass, the whole Battle Pass thing is based on FOMO, right? If you miss out. So they want you to grind out a Battle Pass because, they put a really cool skin on level 50. I need to grind toward it, where where Halo is just going to be like, hey, you buy the Battle Pass, it's never going to expire. You can always get the content from it. So that's a really cool change.
That is cool.
Yeah, but everybody's super excited about Halo, which is great. Then you had some Diablo 2, but who cares about Diablo? Nobody cares about Blizzard.
What? Oh man, you seriously don't care about? You don't care about
this?
Diablo?
Was one of those games where I saw and I'm like, why is Diablo 2 here?
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding you.
Why do you hate games?
I'm not even saying I hate Diablo. I just didn't think it fit in. I think you lose nothing if Diablo 2's not there. It's just whatever. It was just kind of old ass game. Who cares? Old ass game. Who cares? Plague's Tale was kind of a big surprise. Requiem, a sequel coming next year, and already announced for Game Pass. So that's interesting. We got a announcement far out in the future for a game that is going to be pretty big. I know Diablo 2 is a classic. I'm just giving Jez shit because he loves Blizzard and all that stuff. That's his favorite. You guys are always with him when he makes fun of Halo to me, and I'm making fun of Halo. I'm making fun of Diablo and Blizzard to Jez, and now everybody in chat's all up in my shit.
I'm kind of down on Blizzard lately, man. That after that Summer Games Fest thing, we're like, we've got 2 skins we're showing today. Seriously? That's what you've come to Summer Game Fest to show is skins for Overwatch? Are they high right now? So yeah, I have no idea what's going on at Blizzard. What are they doing? But I thought Diablo looked fantastic. Personally.
Yeah, and people are like, this is why I voted for Jez, and people are like, I want to transfer my vote to Jez. You know what? It's not fair. Jez can make fun of Halo, and you're all cool about it. But if I make fun of Diablo, everyone gets hurt. What's up with that? Why can't I do that?
Don't know. Maybe you're just mean.
Yeah. They showed another trailer for Far Cry 6, which still looks cool. Slime Rancher 2. I have some friends. I know some people are like, oh, Slime Rancher, but I have some friends, 30-year-old dudes, hardcore gamers, who are Slime Rancher 2 was their favorite announcement from the show. I'm dead serious. People love Slime Rancher.
I barely played the original, but I am aware of how popular it is. I might give Slime Rancher a go, even though I'm like, it's like old school, you know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it.
Shredders, which is coming out at the end of the year. I kind of want another SSX. Atomic Heart coming to Game Pass, which was the weirdest tonal trailer. Like it was, I don't know what to think of that game.
That game is weird. It's like BioShock meets Half-Life meets something else. Like it's such a strange game. I'm really intrigued by it though. Looks pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna check it out. See, Zagoon says, I'm 27-year-old dude. I'm excited for Slime Rancher 2. Like my buddy loves Slime Rancher 2, and he's like hardcore shooter dude as you can get, and he's like, yo, I'm pumped for Slime Rancher 2. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Awesome. I feel for you. We had the Among Us update. Among Us finally coming to the console. 15-player lobbies, three imposters. Grounded had another update. Shroom and Doom. Obsidian makes the best trailers.
Oh my god, man! The trailer for Outer Watch.
Outer Watch.
Outer Watch. That's like the mixture of that's cursed. The Outer Watch. That's kind of cursed. So the trailer for Outer Worlds 2, I thought that was one of the best game trailers ever made. I was howling. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they went there. Like that was marketing genius right there. That is how you announce a CGI trailer. You're gonna do a CGI trailer, shut down all the arguments with hilarity. That was just amazingly done. And like the Shroom and Doom update looked really cool. I loved how they were like, yeah, we're adding sitting. No, really, you'd be shocked how many people ask us for sitting. I'm looking forward to getting back into Grounded because I've sort of been holding off on it, like waiting for it to be more fleshed out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you can use mushrooms to make like castles and stuff. At the moment, you can only make like sort of wooden fortresses, I guess. But the mushrooms seem to make some sort of stone kind of texture. So I'm gonna go for that. Looking forward to that game a lot.
Yeah. So then there was the Euden Chronicles, which do you know what that is, Jez?
It's sort of like it's a JRPG, new franchise. I believe it's new anyway, but it's made by the Suikoden devs. I probably pronounced that wrong, but it's like these are like classic JRPGs from like decades ago, and he's back with a 2.5D sort of classic JRPG style. I'm really excited about this because I've gotten big into my JRPGs recently, thanks to Dragon Quest, and also I played Tales of Arise recently as well, which is coming out in a few months, I think. I'm gonna have a preview of that up soon. Spoilers, it's pretty damn amazing. So I am pretty excited for the support that Microsoft are trying to get from the Japanese sort of game dev community there. Like I think it was important to show that JRPG and also show Yakuza coming as well to sort of like just signal that they're working on it. You know, they're working on that argument. Mm-hmm. So,
hey, I put up a poll about Diablo 2. If you care about it, and the options are no, hell no, and just a little bit, I suppose. So most people just care about Diablo 2 just a little bit. So,
oh wow, Randall, meanie pie. What do you like, eh? What are you like?
I know. Shout out to my brother Gaming Forte. He says can't confirm $50 extra credit when you trade any PS4, PS5, Xbox One, or Switch console with the $50 extra Xbox One X, $250, Xbox One S, $175, PS4 Pro $250, Switch $225. Is this what you get towards trading it in for a Series X, or just trading it in, period. Because if so, I still have my Xbox One X and my PS4 Pro. I could trade both those in and get $500 of store credit, which I will then use to buy $500 worth of Xbox money, so I can buy all my games on Xbox. Yeah, because Forte works at the one and only GameStop. So thank you, Forte. Appreciate it, man. They showed a brief trailer for Ascent, which is coming in July, Game Pass. Age of Empires coming October 28th on Game Pass. And did they say Windows streaming? So could you play this on without a keyboard and mouse? Like, what's going on with that, Jez?
So I actually reached out to Microsoft about Age of Empires being cloud, because it did say cloud underneath it. That they said to me that's a mistake. Microsoft spokesperson said we're not announcing streaming games to console, streaming PC games to xCloud at the moment, and that the content on the card was a mistake. However, I don't think it was a mistake personally. I think it will eventually. And honestly, Microsoft's been public about this. I think Phil literally said it recently that they're working on getting PC games into cloud gaming too. And naturally, Age of Empires will be the first among those. So I do think it's coming to xCloud. I don't think it's coming to xCloud this year. I think it's coming to xCloud in the future, along with other PC games, probably like some of the Paradox games. They're working very closely with Paradox right now. Because ultimately, Rand, a lot of people out there have low-power PCs that can't run PC games very well. And that's certainly an issue for Intel, because Intel, like, gaming laptops like rely on AMD and Nvidia chips right now. Like Intel makes these integrated graphics cards, but they're graphics chips, but they're not very powerful. Like you can just about get a Candy Crush out of them, maybe a 720p World of Warcraft out of them. I've run Overwatch okay on integrated Intel graphics, but like a lot of the next gen games, the big next gen games, they will be helped a lot by cloud gaming. And I know Intel is going to be all over this, because it means they don't have to they can be like, yeah, we can sell you a $300 laptop that'll also run the latest games thanks to cloud streaming. Microsoft's going all in on this. Mm-hmm. It's not going to stop at Xbox. They're going to have PC games running in the cloud. They'll probably have Windows itself running in the cloud eventually. And they'll be like $150 laptops going out that barely need any memory, that don't even need any hardware. It'll just be a screen and a keyboard and like Wi-Fi. And you'll stream the whole operating system from the cloud. You don't realize how much growth Microsoft still has to do in this space. It's going to be massive. It really is going to be massive. And, there'll be cloud. Everything will be cloud. Like, eventually, you'll be able to get, like, a microchip in your brain, and you just see the Xbox games in your eyeballs, and you play it with your thoughts. Would you do that, Rand? Would you have an Xbox? Maybe.
So, Pong Soul wants to know when it's coming to console. And if it does come to console, it won't be until maybe sometime next year or 2023, right?
Yeah. Age of Empires on console is complicated because it is a game designed from the ground up for keyboard and mouse. I think Microsoft are really nervous about releasing games that only use keyboard and mouse. But honestly, just do it. Just do it. Who cares? I mean, I think if people can accept that some games play better with keyboard and mouse on PC, they'll be able to accept it on Xbox too. Just do it, Microsoft. Put Age of Empires 4 on Xbox and let people use whatever keyboard and mouse they've got lying around. Like, it's not like a keyboard and mouse costs much money. You can get like a wireless keyboard and mouse for like $20 these days, a combo. So, just do it, Microsoft. Just put it on Xbox. See what happens.
Yeah.
Trust me on this.
Yeah. And then you said the best trailer, Outer Worlds 2, which a lot of people were surprised that Obsidian would announce Outer Worlds 2 when we haven't seen anything from Avowed. Even though the trailer was fantastic, it kind of really poked fun at themselves, where it's like, hey, we don't know, the game's not finished, the main character, we don't know what it looks like, we haven't done any of the story, we don't know any of the gameplay, none of it's finished, but they just wanted to know, or tell fans, hey, the Outer Worlds 2 is coming.
I think, Rand, there's there's an argument to be made that if you look at the flow of the show, it was almost rhythmic in its narrative setting. It was like Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. Acquisition sequel is now exclusive. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. This game is exclusive. Game Pass, Game Pass, Game Pass. This game is exclusive. So it was kind of like It was almost like a flow of that. Like if you go on Obsidian's Twitter and look at some of the replies to the Outer Worlds 2 trailer, there's a lot of salt about it not being on PlayStation or Switch, because people were like, oh well, the sequel should be there, blah 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 blah. Even though like Sunset Overdrive 2, which is probably inevitable, is not going to be on Xbox, you know. So this is business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it sucks. Like, you know, as speaking as a gamer and not a Microsoft analyst or whatever, it sucks. Like, I would personally love it if we lived in a world where everyone could play everything on every platform, you know, because I've been in a position where, you know, I got friends and family who they just prefer PlayStation, or they just prefer Nintendo Switch or whatever. And I wanted to play Monster Hunter with them, but I couldn't because crossplay wasn't a thing, you know. It'd be great if the walls were broken down and we could just play on whatever platform we wanted, and we didn't have to have these arguments about, you know, trying to get all of our friends to join the same platform we want to be on and all that sort of stuff. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, Sony's being really aggressive with this stuff. You know, they've got Final Fantasy basically locked down to PlayStation right now. You might as well think Final Fantasy is an exclusive franchise at the moment. And that, like, Microsoft has to respond to that. They have to react to that. It's not like Microsoft was the ones who were out there doing crazy, amazing exclusives first. Like, even last gen, really, like most of the big games I remember from the 360 era weren't exclusive. They were multi-platform. And I always felt like Sony have always had a sort of more dominant take on what exclusives mean. And the number one thing every journalist and every YouTuber complained about was that Microsoft didn't deliver exclusives. Well, this is what people asked for, and now we're here. People are annoyed about it. You know, it is what it is. It's business, right?
The poll ended, Jez, and 46% just care about Diablo just a little bit, like just a tiny amount, while 52% say no and hell no. So I guess the majority just don't care, and the ones who do care just only care a little bit. You know.
I'm gonna delete Splinter Cell from existence. Oh no, wait, I don't have to. It's already happened.
I know, right? It already happened. Stephen Boxley says, going forward, will any game release in 30 frames? Well, Flight Sim is going to release in 30. A lot of people were touting about how, Series X isn't that powerful because Forza Horizon 5 is 4K 30, and they said there'd be an optional 4K 60 mode, or an optional 60 mode, and everybody thought it would be a different resolution. But then they came out and confirmed today that no, the performance mode on Horizon 5 is 4K 60. So, yeah. Look, I was just having fun with the poll. I'm not mad. I'm just giving Jez a little shit, because Jez always giving me shit about Halo, so I'm gonna give it right back to him about Blizzard and Diablo.
Man, when you troll Blizzard right now, it really does feel like you're punching down, though. Blizzard's not in a good place right now.
No,
man.
They aren't.
Like Asmongold, the famous Warcraft YouTuber, announced he was switching to Final Fantasy 14 this week. Because World of Warcraft's got a massive content drought right now. There hasn't been like a major update for the game since Shadowlands launched, which was literally months ago. And Asmongold's audience from Twitch killed Square Enix's servers for Final Fantasy 14. And there were server queues of like thousands of people. It's crazy some of the power some of these content creators have. But that's what happens. If you don't compete, you lose out. And a lot of people right now are looking at what's going on at Blizzard with sort of worried glances, And it's funny though, because like a lot of Xbox execs went to Blizzard recently.
Yeah.
Maybe they picked the wrong time to switch company. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Maybe they did. Maybe they did. What do you think about Flight Sim having Top Gun stuff and planes and things like that?
I thought it was kind of funny because they basically, there were rumors that Tom Cruise was in Starfield.
Yeah, there were, weren't there?
And Todd Howard basically came in and said, that's not a thing, that's not happening. So I wonder if like that was something more to do with Top Gun being in Flight Simulator, and that someone got the wrong end of the stick. Maybe Tom Cruise was in like one of the Xbox recording booths or something. I don't know. recording lines for Flight Simulator. Let's just assume. And then Chinese Whispers happens, and then we get to this place where it's like, what's going on? But I'm really intrigued by Flight Simulator because I've never really played one. I've played some kind of simulation games. Like, I consider Elite Dangerous to be a simulator. There's not much in the way of gameplay in that game. You basically just fly around in space and occasionally shoot things, maybe. I suppose like you shoot things more often if you're playing like a bounty hunter or something, but it feels more like a simulator to me than a sort of typical sci-fi action game or whatever. But I've typically not been a big fan of simulation games, but I just want to see Flight Simulator for the tech. I just want to see what it looks like. I just want to because I do have a flight stick. I got a flight stick for Star Wars Squadrons, which I ended up not really playing very much. And I wanna pull that out, put some nice music on, and fly around. Maybe go and find Rand's house and yell out.
I want to find your house.
Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell. Oh man!
You'll make me put up a poll about Splinter Cell being better than whatever your favorite game is, because I'll do it, Jez. No.
Don't you know what my favorite game is?
Isn't your favorite game? What's your favorite? Overwatch. I know you love Overwatch.
I do.
World of Warcraft.
Nah. This is the thing with me. My favorite game fluctuates, and because a lot of these games are service games, it's like I like what World of Warcraft used to be, but it's not. It's a very different game now, so it changes a lot. I think, honestly, the game that I had the most fun with of all time, probably the original Final Fantasy VII. Still, no games made me feel that way. But more modern, recent games and franchises, Dragon Age is really high up there for me. I like all the Dragon Age games, but also Mass Effect, which you can't troll me over because that's one of your favorite games.
Yeah, I love me some Mass Effect, but you haven't even played any of the Legendary Edition though. So
I have. I'm halfway through Mass Effect 2. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm almost done with Mass Effect 3. Thank you very
much. I was playing Days Gone, and then I got distracted by Dragon Quest.
You stopped playing Days Gone because you realize it's not that very good, and you would rather do other things than sit through Days Gone. Yeah, I understand.
I was enjoying Days Gone, man.
Remember, you guys remember when Jez was like, "Yo, Death Stranding's really good," and I'm like, you're gonna get to chapter 4, and you're gonna drop the game like a bad habit, like a lot of people do.
Man.
And sure enough, when the game actually opened up and there was no more story for Death Stranding, what did Jez do? He stopped playing Death Stranding. Surprise!
I'm gonna go
surprise!
I'm gonna go back to it.
But you're not my only. I had another friend who was loving Death Stranding. Right? He's like, man, this is amazing. And he was in the first couple chapters. I asked him, you got into chapter 4 yet? When the game opens up, he's like, no. And guess what? He got to chapter 4 and he stopped playing. I know you, Jez. So you say, hey, Days Gone's really great. Have you beat it yet? No, of course not.
I'm gonna go back to it, man. Leave me alone. I'm even gonna go back to Death Stranding.
Are you gonna go back and play the director's cut of Death Stranding?
Man, what the hell was that trailer? The Death Stranding director's cut, where he's looking at the box and figuring out what to do. That was so weird.
That was a meta. That was obviously a reference to Metal Gear, and maybe how he's moving away from Metal Gear. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. See the oranges drop on the floor? That was such a Metal Gear Solid 2 throwback. So weird. But yeah, I was enjoying Death Stranding, man. What happened? Something just happened in the game where it was just like a switch flipped, and I was like,
yeah, there was no more story, and it was all just the gameplay, walking to and from, delivering packages. A lot of people dropped Death Stranding at that same point. You're not the only one, so don't feel bad about it.
I feel that part, when it gets to just walking around, it just feels like the game doesn't respect your time anymore. It's yeah, you've got to do these busybody activities. I could be learning a new chord on my guitar instead of playing this, I've been trying to pick up guitar again recently. I'm trying to figure out what my hobby's going to be, because I've decided that for a healthy lifestyle, Rand, you need to have something that isn't work related. And right now, my life is 99% work related. And I started doing a hobby, which was game dev. And I realized this is still work related, kind of. So I thought, right, I'm gonna pick up guitar again, and instead of playing a game that's boring me, I could just learn a new guitar chord, and that's kind of like what it felt like with Death Stranding. When you get to a point where you don't have much free time, you're sort of more cognizant of how you're spending your time, I guess. And Death Stranding felt like it wasn't respecting my time anymore, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I just need to push through the pain barrier and just accept that I'm just a postman now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. That's what you're gonna have to do. Um, and then we had the Forza Horizon 5 stuff, which looked great. It was funny because I was sitting there and watching it, and then I saw the cacti and the music started playing. I'm like, oh, this is definitely Forza Horizon 5. So another leak for Jez with Forza Horizon being in Mexico. Another one for your belt. They did a really good demo for it. Looks amazing. The release date later than I expected, November 9th. Surprisingly, because most of the games are September and in September or October. This one's in November. So that's kind of why I'm putting my Halo thing in September. Although I guess certainly possible Halo could be the end of November or December. But like a lot of companies don't release their games in December, so I don't know. Like I just really doubt that Forza Horizon 5's November 9th and then Halo Infinite's going to be November 15th. I just
I
kind
feel
of
that.
I just don't
Feel that.
see it happening. Now there is a big debate going on about this about Forza Horizon 5's Premium Edition, the $100 version that comes with all the expansions and everything. Essentially launches on the 4th. So a lot of people, there's a lot of pundits out there saying that that's unacceptable. How the real release date for Forza Horizon 5 is November 4th. How Game Pass doesn't get it day one. It's really getting it on day 4. How do you feel about Forza Horizon basically doing this like they always do, where they offer 4-day early access for the most expensive version? How do you feel about that?
I mean, on the one hand, I don't care because I'm not getting Forza anyway, even though it looks gorgeous. I just don't like racing games very much. But for people who are into it, I do kind of feel like it's a bit shady, and it's kind of like we need to remember as Xbox gets more powerful and starts growing and gets back into a dominant position, it's people like us, Rand, and you guys in the chat. We need to be keeping an eye on Microsoft and making sure they don't get arrogant again, making sure they, stay down to earth and remember what happened in 2013 with the backlash. Maybe I'm just being overly cautious about it or being overly picky and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like this is capitalism. There's loads of other games that do this early access thing. I believe is EA doing it for Battlefield and stuff.
BEA is
I
doing
think,
it for a week early.
yeah,
And
and
that's
I
for
think
the $90 and the $120, $100 and the $120 version, I believe.
yeah, and isn't that what they did for Watch Dogs Legion 2 and some other Ubisoft games?
No,
I
actually,
think.
Ubisoft used
No.
to do that, but they didn't do that this time with their games.
Okay, well, I think like it's funny because you were talking about how the Halo Battle Pass doesn't have this FOMO effect in it. But that's what releasing the game early does. It gives you this FOMO thing, like, oh well, if my friends are getting it 4 days early, then so I need to get it 4 days early as well if I want to play with them and keep up. So that is sort of manipulating the FOMO effect, isn't it? So while I don't think it's a huge deal, I think like if they start being too egregious with it, then we need to start calling them out. So maybe keep an eye on what they're doing. Make sure they don't do any more sneaky little things. Because ultimately, it's like, what have you done for? What have you done? It's always, what have you done for me lately, Microsoft, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I like to think that the Xbox community is more willing to criticize what they do and don't do properly, more so than some other fan bases out there. So, um, I don't think it's a huge deal, but maybe it's just because it doesn't affect me. And it's only 4 days. Like, there's loads of other games to play. So it's not like it's a big deal, and it's not like it's a super competitive game. I feel like, so maybe it's like it's just not a big deal at all, really, and it's just sort of getting money out of people that have got sort of more money than sense in some ways. But at the same time, I would urge caution and keep an eye on what they're up to.
Yeah, Achievement says if you have Game Pass, you can get the add-on packs, which adds all the extras plus the early access for $50. So, you know, I don't really know how I feel about it. Like, I know for the extra 100, you also get the expansions, and maybe they should be like, you know what, it should all release on the same day. But I always kind of view it as like, if you're willing to spend that much money, these companies are probably gonna be like, well, if you want to spend the $100, maybe we'll give you early access to it. It's weird, like, you know, with like, remember with Gears, if you had Ultimate, right, you got to play. Didn't you get to play it early too? Or am I misremembering that? Because if you had Ultimate, I know you got the DLC High Busters for free, and I want to say if you had Ultimate, you got the Ultimate version of Gears 5. Which did that come with early access? I kind of want to say it did, but I don't remember.
It kind of rings a bell, but also kind of don't know.
If somebody in chat, well, I'll pose the question: if you had Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, did you get Gears 5 Ultimate for free? And if that was the case, were you able to play Gears Ultimate or Gears 5 early? I kind of remember that being the case, but I just don't. Like, I don't know, that's a couple years ago at this point. I'm not sure. Axel said that that's correct. And Nathan says, yes, it was early access. So I think there's maybe, Forte says 4-day early access too. So I think that's maybe where some people get pissed off, because one Xbox Game Studio is doing it one way and the other Xbox Game Studio is doing it differently. So you would want a consistent message, right? So Coalition's like, you have Ultimate, you can play it 4 days early, you get the Ultimate Edition. You kind of would figure then Playground would want to follow that and be like, it's the same thing, like you get it early and all that stuff. So there is kind of mixed messaging with that regard. So I can see why some people would be upset. Nathan says, I played it early and the servers were fucked for the whole weekend, so a bunch of yeah, I remember that. Dovakin says, I bought the show for early access. Yeah, a lot of people buy the early access stuff for sure. I thought that was the case. So yeah, there's better messaging they need to do. I wonder if their developers pick that, like, right? Like if there was the Coalition's decision to do that, and if it was Playground's decision to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it can't be Microsoft making that decision, because why would they make opposite decisions for both those games? Maybe it is. I honestly don't. I honestly couldn't answer that.
We're getting old. We can't remember things.
Yeah. Then we had Phil come out, and I think Phil did a really good job recapping everything. And he did something really important, because it was like, hey, we showed you Starfield, but then also don't forget, we have Fable coming, we have Avowed coming, we have Elder Scrolls 6 coming. And hey, we showed you Halo Infinite, but there's still Wolfenstein, Gears, Perfect Dark, right? It was just like, here's everything we're doing. Here's all the things coming in Game Pass this year. Here's all these games that we didn't even show that we still have that are coming. So it was just like, you sit there and you look at it and you're like, damn, like that is a bunch of games. And then they ended it with the new game, a new IP from Arcane called Redfall, which was Project Omen. And it wasn't what I was expecting, Jez, because when I heard it was a vampire game, I thought we were going to be playing as a vampire. I didn't think we were going to be hunting vampires.
It's I don't really know anything about Project Omen yet from the like, I don't have details about Project Omen like I do Project Dragon or Project Typhoon, now known as Contraband. So I have no idea, like, the full breadth and depth of exactly how that's going to play. I've seen a lot of people around who are like nervous that it won't be good for single player gamers and stuff like that, and I kind of feel that too. But at the same time, I also think, like, maybe Arcane see Prey and Dishonored as their sort of solo, more lonely games, and they wanted to branch out a bit with Deathloop and Redfall, which, you know, I appreciate, you know, and they've certainly got enough studios to handle multiple projects at once. So I don't know. I'm intrigued by it, but I'm sort of like holding out for more details right now.
Yeah,
I do love vampires. And I do kind of like, I do wish it had a sort of darker tone. I was honestly hoping for something more along the lines of Dishonored, rather than a sort of quirky, colorful, you know, happy game. I hate my colorful unhappiness, Rand.
Mm-hmm.
Give me grim, dark, and depression. That's more my mode. But I don't know. I'll hold out for it because, like I say, I felt that way about Deathloop too. And when I saw Deathloop in motion behind closed doors, it sort of became a lot more exciting. So I'm gonna hold out for that. I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, the only reason this show didn't get a 9 from me or like an A was I wanted to know more about Redfall. It's hard for me to get really super excited for CGI stuff. The Starfield teaser I thought was too brief. Still don't really know exactly what the game is from that teaser, even though we found out more information. Contraband was a big nothing announcement. It's cool to know that Avalanche is making a game for Xbox, but it was still just nothing. I feel like if they had given me something more from any one of those games, it would have pumped it up to a 9. But it just says a lot about how the rest of the show was constructed, about how everything is going with the hardware and the Game Pass and all their first party studios and stuff, that the show was as good as it was and was better than any other year. But it just kind of missed that extra bump to be like a 9 or to be a 10. And Redfall can be played single player, can be played in co-op. They said it's their typical Arcane game, immersive shooter. I'm really looking forward to it because I love Arcane games. I love them all. Every one of them I played. I really, really like them. I know a lot of people think it's going to be like a Left 4 Dead where you hunt vampires, and I'm not necessarily sure that's the case, but I guess we'll wait and see. And it's coming next year, which is great. And they made sure to mention that it's exclusive, so the Bethesda games won't be coming to any other platform. And I would imagine Deathloop will come to Xbox next year in September, and Ghostwire Tokyo will come a year after, whenever it releases on PlayStation. But all in all, it was a great show. I give it an 8.5, a B+, A-, right around there. What would you give it, Jez? Because you seem to really, really like the show a lot. What would be your rating? Oh, Jez isn't here, so I can make fun of his.
Crap! I was muted. Jez, muted now.
Oh, Jez muted.
Were you talking specifically about E3 as a whole?
No, I mean just the Xbox show, just this presentation.
Like for me, it was like an 8 out of 10. So like, what's that in the American system? Like an A, like a B plus or something. Like a B plus until after the show when they started giving more details. Then my hype levels went up to like an A minus maybe.
Ooh, okay, okay.
I'm still curious about a lot of the games like Contraband. What does that look like in motion? What does Omen look like in motion? I'm nervous about Hellblade. I'm nervous about State of Decay 3. I'm nervous about Perfect Dark. I'm nervous about some of these other games. Like, where are they? What are they going to look like? Are they going to, is Hellblade going to be a walking simulator? That kind of thing. As much as I appreciate Hellblade from an artistic perspective, I want it to be more action oriented. I don't have the attention or the intellect to appreciate an artistic walking simulator. That's a me problem. It completely is. And it's totally subjective. Like, I appreciate Hellblade for what it is. I just want it more hands-on experience because I'm not that smart. So I'm still nervous about some of the games we don't know about. But what was shown was incredible, and it really turned the corner for me. I don't feel like you can argue against Xbox having a great lineup of content coming now, and my hype for Starfield is just off the charts right now. But then again, my hope for Cyberpunk was off the charts too, and
but you loved it though. You loved Cyberpunk at the end of the day.
Yeah, I did. But like, if I'd played Cyberpunk on Xbox, I feel like I would have had a completely different feeling about it afterwards. Like, I played Cyberpunk on a high-end PC and had an amazing experience. But I also feel like if I played it on an Xbox or reviewed it on Xbox, I would have had a very different feeling about it, Or Biomutant even. I thought Biomutant looked incredible before, and then I played it, and it's one of the most awful games I've played in recent memory. So, again, trying to temper my hype a little bit, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you sort of like we're still in the COVID era, and there's still things that can go wrong. I feel like so it's always smart to try and temper expectations to some degree. But I think it was as good as we could have possibly hoped for, and I think the future is truly bright. So I'm going to give it an A minus.
Right. So I put up a poll. Anybody wants to vote? What would you rate the Xbox Bethesda Showcase? A, B, C, or D? So make sure you vote in the poll. See what everybody thinks. Steven says, will Xbox win Game of the Year in the next 3 years? That's interesting. Do you think... Well, I mean, do you mean the Keeleys? Because there are a lot of other outlets and stuff and other places that do Game of the Years. Are you specifically talking about the Keeleys?
The Keeleys?
Yeah, the Keeleys. You know, the his show that he does. You know,
is that
the
what
Game
we're calling
Awards.
it now?
People always say like that is, well, that's what I call it, the Keeleys, because there's other Game of the Year award shows. You know, it's just that's the one that people always refer to, and I just refer to it as the Keeleys. Will they win a Game of the Year in the next 3 years? So this 2021, 2022, 2023? Potentially. I think next year might be, Starfield, depending on how good that game is. Although, I think Starfield I think there's a very good chance Starfield gets nominated. Whether or not it wins is anybody's guess. So I do think they'll definitely have nominations for sure. Will they win? We'll have to wait and see for these games to come out. You know what I mean? But there's still some other news coming out of all this, right? Everwild wasn't at the show, and we got a article basically saying that Everwild's been completely rebooted from the ground up. Greg Miles, how do you say his name, Jez? Greg Miles. He's taking over as creative director on the title, and a lot of people think this is a really good thing because he's their best director over at Rare. So even though it's disappointing the game's getting rebooted, it seems like it's in good hands. And I did mention on a podcast I did yesterday, we bleed green, that the old Microsoft would never have allowed this. Never have let people in the studios take the time. Like when you think about what the Coalition did, where they came out and they're like, don't expect any announcements from us for years. This is a studio that Microsoft relied heavily on for the Xbox One gen. And now they're like, it's going to be a while before you hear anything from us, right? And now you have Everwild, a game they announced in 2019, not expected to come out till 2024, so probably 2025, realistically. If this was old Microsoft, they probably would have just told them to release whatever they had or whatever vision they had originally, or had just canceled the game and just, done that and kind of, went with the consequences. Instead, because they have the treasure trove of studios and games and all that stuff, it's like, listen, take your time. Make Everwild the game, you want to be, the game that it deserves to be. We don't necessarily need it right away. Same thing with the Gears. Like before, it would have been like, if Gears would have been on that 3-year cycle, we would have seen it this year because it would have been coming out next year, Gears 6. But instead, it's like, take your time, learn Unreal Engine, release another game, then do Gears 6, give people time to miss it. It's a completely different Microsoft because they have all these things in the works that they don't necessarily need Everwild right away or Gears. And I think that's, something to be said.
One of the things that I've seen floating around with regards to Bethesda is the fact that like they had a huge, well, not a huge, but they had an array of misses the last few years. Wolfenstein Youngblood was just absolutely atrocious, and also we all know what happened with Fallout 76. And there was this came hot on the heels of like a marketing campaign where they were like, save the single player games, and Bethesda was pitching itself as the savior of a single player market, and then they were leaning into Fallout 76, which at the time was a horrific mismatch of the creation engine with multiplayer systems that it wasn't designed for. But to their credit, they've really seriously turned it around and made Fallout 76 more akin to what you expect from that kind of Bethesda RPG. Still not perfect by any means, but I had a lot of fun with Fallout 76. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I gave it 6 out of 10 in my review, but I also conceded that the whole time I'd been playing it, even though it was a janky nightmare full of crashing, and even now, if someone drops a nuke in a populated area, it can literally kill the server. So, it's still got problems, but they've added loads of dungeons. There's NPCs. There's a huge and seriously like detailed storyline. Some of the side quests I did, even in the base game, were like really interesting. Even though it was basically all text based, I was like, wow, this is really well written, and it had twists I didn't expect. And I'm sort of exploring this lonely wasteland and uncovering all this Fallout lore that I presume is going to remain canon. If you're a Fallout fan, there's still a lot to get out of that game. But I feel like some of those service experiments, like Youngblood to some degree and Fallout 76, I feel, and also like, the mobile games like Elder Scrolls Blades, which is basically pay to win. I feel like that was Bethesda ZeniMax kind of trying to figure out what its role was in an evolving gaming landscape. Kind of like how Blizzard has its Hearthstone and it has its cash cows, and Blizzard's almost like losing its soul a little bit in the process. I feel like Bethesda was really in danger of going the way Blizzard was, where they're sort of losing themselves in this changing gaming landscape. But that's the genius of Game Pass. Because of Game Pass, they can capture some of that revenue from the free-to-play service model while also being able to make the games that they were born to make. They don't have to shoehorn, microtransactions or financial services into their games, because all of that comes off the back of Game Pass now. All of that engagement comes through Game Pass, and then there's this uplift and upsell. It's almost like Game Pass might have saved Bethesda from suffering Blizzard's fate. And, maybe that's like a sweeping assumption to make right now. And, maybe, there's still time for them to fuck it all up. Sure. But I kind of get that feeling, and I'm like super optimistic for Bethesda now, because like I said, like they've always been one of my favorite studios. Like Fallout 3 and Skyrim are two games that I have like hundreds of hours in playing. I have a bunch of Fallout merchandise here from before I was a game journalist. Like I bought the collector's edition for Fallout 4 and stuff, and got my Pip-Boy on my shelf, got my bobbleheads Rand. I love that franchise. I absolutely adore it. I like my apocalypses.
I know you do.
So I'm just happy. I'm just feeling good, man. I'm feeling good about Xbox right now.
As you should.
It feels good.
And most people in chat feel good too. So we have 500 votes on the poll. 60% said an A, 34% said a B, 3% said a C, and 1% said D. So 94% of people would give it an A or a B. So that's a pretty damn good show.
Yeah,
it's a pretty damn good show, and it's not over, because Paris, the one and only Paris, Gamertag Radio, co-host of the Kind of Funny Xcast, he is also hosting an Xbox Game Showcase extended talk with some of the developers from like Obsidian and Rare and other places Thursday at noon. So that's big for Paris. Shout out to him for landing that gig. That's huge. What do you expect to see from this extended thing that Paris is hosting on Thursday, Jez?
I expect to see Paris's Lambo post on Twitter with the big Microsoft logo on it. No, I'm joking. Maybe you and Paris can compare your Lambos, in the near future. But but I'm sort of, I think Jeff Grubb already confirmed that the Hellblade video documentary is going to be there. I had no idea Microsoft were putting on a show like this before. All I knew was that there was going to be some kind of Hellblade 2 update, whether it was at E3 or some kind of, post-interview sort of E3 thing. I had no idea Paris was doing a show there. But it's amazing for Paris. Like, the dude's awesome, and I really love his content. And he loves gaming. There's not enough content creators out there who seem to actually love gaming. They just seem to be like super negative all the time. And I hate that about establishment media too. There has always got to be some kind of negative spin on things all the time. I don't know why college educated journalists, they always seem to gun for the negative. Like, if you look at any news media, everything's so negative all the time. It's so exhausting. There's so much to celebrate this week. Why even maybe there's like some bad things here and there. Like, yeah, some of the shows weren't that great, but why focus on that? Why not focus on all the cool stuff that's coming? And I know why. It's because it doesn't get as many clicks, but alas, I digress. When it comes to this show, I have no idea what they're going to show there. I think like some people are saying like, will we see acquisitions there? Will it be more business oriented? Will they talk about some of the games that we haven't heard about yet? Will they offer an update on some of the other smaller games? Maybe. Um, I think like a big part of it will focus on games that they revealed at the show. So Microsoft likes to compartmentalize its sort of marketing. They'll focus their marketing will focus on the games that are coming soon. But I do think like they wanted to get something up for Hellblade because it has been quite a while since it was revealed, and Ninja Theory have had a lot of disruption internally because they've literally moved studios in the midst of a pandemic. So Ninja Theory, like as part of joining Microsoft, they literally had a whole new studio built with like state of the art motion capture technology and all this sort of stuff. So they were sort of developing the game from home while also enduring all this disruption from the pandemic and enduring this disruption from moving studio buildings and stuff like that. And getting acclimated to the new systems and all that sort of stuff, integrating with Microsoft. So I think like it's important, especially in the case of Hellblade and Ninja Theory, to sort of return to the conversation because it's been quite a while. But I wouldn't expect to see updates of Fable or Perfect Dark or Avowed and some of these other games that are further out. I think like it's going to mostly talk about the games that are sort of near on the horizon, maybe offer some details about what Contraband is, especially since I've published a lot of them myself. Maybe offer some details about what Redfall might be. Maybe offer some details about Halo Infinite, more details on more teasing about the story and stuff like that. But I do think it's going to be hell of a lot worth watching anyway if you're a big Xbox fan, and I'll definitely be checking it out myself.
Well,
What do
yeah,
you think,
because you're going to be
Rand?
have to writing articles about it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know. I think it's cool that they're doing it. These are the type of things that we wish Microsoft would do more of. I like that they did the Halo thing on Monday and the extra Forza look. It definitely seems that Microsoft is at least maybe heard a lot of the feedback, or they were planning this already, where they do more of a deep dive into stuff. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what Paris and what sort of information they drop. Like you mentioned, acquisition. So I figured we'll have to talk about that. Sam Tolbert says Obsidian will get an update. Obsidian has said we'll get updates on Avowed soon. I don't think we'll get an update on Avowed on Thursday. However, there still is the VGAs at the end of the year, right? Avowed could show up there. Hellblade 2 gameplay could show up there. Not to mention, it's Xbox's 20th anniversary. They might do some sort of event for that to celebrate the 20 years of Xbox and everything that's going on in the future. So there's always the chance that some of these other stuff and some of their announcements are saved for then. But yeah, I just don't know what to really expect from this show. As for the acquisitions, Jez, we talked about it on, what was that, Friday? Everybody was hyped. These rumors about 5 acquisitions. I felt one of them was happening at this show, and it didn't, which was I felt Microsoft was going to acquire Avalanche, and obviously they didn't. Do you think Microsoft needs to announce these acquisitions at E3, or is this better served for some other time down the road when they can just bust it out in a newswire post and have a video? Like, you know what I mean? Like, save it for the end of the year, save it for some time in July or August if they really do have some stuff. Because people were getting hyped out of their mind, and we're saying, hey, calm down. Like, I don't think they're going to acquire 5 studios during this, because it really was about Xbox and Bethesda, which was the focal point. So what do you think about the acquisition talk?
Well, I didn't put any acquisitions in my rumors
And
article.
neither did I. I said there would be none, so I was right.
Yeah, I pretty much I didn't believe there would be acquisitions, which we discuss rumors on this channel, but when we put out like our content and official predictions, quote unquote, that's what you can take as like what we have evidence for and stuff. I'm pretty proud that my predictions for this year were pretty much spot on, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, I didn't think there'd be any acquisitions this year. Well, not this year. Like, I didn't think there'd be any at the show, but there was so much smoke going into it. I did actually start wondering, like, could this happen? like I feel like there's obviously huge potential for some of these studios to get acquired. For me, Avalanche seems like the most likely right now. Um, Avalanche is currently owned by a Nordic film company, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So Microsoft would have to buy the division from them, and it potentially makes some sense. It doesn't feel like this film company has a lot of other interests in video gaming, so like it'd be an easy way for them to make some cash. Um, and stuff like that. And also, it give Microsoft some decent tech because Avalanche owns some tech, and they have multiple studios internally and stuff, and and also properties in Sweden. So it'd be a good acquisition for Microsoft, and also Contraband sounds like a service game. It's going to have ongoing updates, from what I understand. So, um, but at the same time, it's like they've got a 10-year contract with Asobo for developing flight simulator updates. So maybe they enter into a contract with Nordic Film and they don't actually acquire Avalanche outright. It could work out cheaper for Microsoft at the end of the day. But we do know that Microsoft's not done with acquiring studios, and especially with the press event last week where they talked extensively about acquisitions and how they plan to grow their platform, and acquisitions is something they want to keep doing. They said they're going to take a disciplined, quote unquote, disciplined approach to acquisitions, which means they're not just gonna buy every studio out there like Embracer Group. They're actually gonna like look at studios that actually, sorry, choking there. They're actually going to look at studios that bring the most benefit to Xbox from like a tech perspective and a games perspective. Do they fit in with Microsoft's culture? There's like a lot of factors that go in there, and also do they own their IP fully and stuff like that. So while I do believe there will be acquisitions, I have no idea if they're coming soon. I have no idea when they'll drop. I have no idea when Microsoft will drop them. And I do know that there is legislation going through the US right now about that specifically targets tech companies consolidating and buying smaller companies. Microsoft has largely avoided criticism in this space. It mostly focuses on Facebook buying Instagram and WhatsApp and stuff, and the way that Facebook and Twitter, well, to a less extent Twitter, but there's a lot of concern about Facebook controlling free speech right now, and like having a sort of the position that it does. And I feel like there's a political landscape coming soon where companies might be like, especially Sony, could potentially make the argument in court that Microsoft's trying to build a gaming monopoly. Like, because you have to think every studio that Microsoft buys from from acquires for Xbox is ultimately content that's not gonna hit PlayStation. So right now, Sony can't argue that Microsoft has a monopoly because Sony has like double the market install base right now. But I think that could rapidly change in the next 5 years or so. So I think Microsoft are probably going to be cautious about it. Maybe they won't like brag about studios they acquire. Maybe they just like literally announce it in a blog post on a Friday night or a Monday morning or something like that. Like it's no big deal. Rather than just like the way they did it in years past, where they were like, we just want to announce 7 studio acquisitions all at once. But I could be completely off base about that. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe it's just Microsoft are just like, whatever. We're just this is capitalism, baby. And we got to compete. And Sony does have a much bigger platform, so I'm not sure you could successfully argue in court that Microsoft is dominating the landscape right now, because it isn't. I think both Sony and Nintendo have bigger gaming revenue than Microsoft at the moment.
That is true.
So, and also Tencent too. So it's not like Microsoft is. They're just trying to compete with other companies, and isn't that the point of capitalism? So, I don't know. I certainly haven't personally heard. Well, actually, no. I have heard, and I will back up the rumors about Avalanche being acquired. But like I always say, I don't have any documents or hard evidence, which is what I prefer to have over like word of mouth stuff, because things can get wrong, Chinese whispers, things can be misconstrued. And I do, of course, trust sources and stuff. I do have sources that have been just have 100% track record on some of this stuff. But I always say, Rand, Microsoft cancelled the Surface Mini at the last minute, so plans can always change until there's like a signature on the dotted line. It's sort of like hard to put put a real sort of definitive answer on some of this stuff. But the acquisitions are coming either way. Like whether they come this week or next month or next year, there's more acquisitions coming, and you can take that to the bank because Microsoft's literally been public about that. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe they'll be Thursday. Maybe they'll introduce Avalanche to the family or something, but we'll
yeah,
just have
maybe.
to wait and see. Stephen Boxey says, do we see Halo campaign preview before launch? Potentially. I definitely think we'll see more of the multiplayer stuff. So there's always, I think Halo will have their own dedicated event as they sort of like lead up to the launch. Maybe they do an event where they announce the release date, or maybe it's just a Twitter post. I don't know. C Trigger says Xbox had a great conference support, especially considering they had little to no Japanese developer support. Yeah, I did notice that. Not a lot of Japanese support at the show, which is unusual because usually they get something from like a Sega or a Capcom or a Square Enix. Although it was funny,
Well,
right? There was really no Japanese support at the
well, they
show.
had Yakuza.
Well, Yakuza, yeah, that's true. Like a Dragon coming to Game
and
Pass.
and that JRPG,
Yeah,
the
Eating
thingy
Chronicles, right?
Yeah. Like I did feel like those, like I said earlier, I feel like those were a way of saying like, we are still signaling that we're trying to break into this space, but that's always gonna be an uphill struggle for like until Microsoft gets some definitive market share there.
Protos X wants to know if we think the Series X should be able to run Flight Sim at 60 frames because it's so powerful. Isn't that like a monster? Like, doesn't that have really high requirements even on PC to run at a decent frame rate too?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Let me have a look. But you have to remember, right? It's what causes the issues with Flight Simulator, and I think Forza as well to some degree, the new one, Forza Horizon 5. It's the draw distance. Like if you want to have like in-flight experience, you don't want to have a limited draw distance. You don't want to be flying around with this sort of artificial fog in the background, especially when you're really high up. So like draw distance is super intensive. Like the higher you put up your draw distance, the more assets it has to load, which you know can affect the frame rate. So I think that's where some of that comes from. And if you're playing a flying game, you want to have the maximum draw distance possible. And I think Forza Horizon 5 has also gone for draw distance too, to give you like a really critical to the experience. So I do feel like it's going to be a worthwhile trade-off there. It's not like you need 60. It's not like you're playing Flight Simulator competitively. It's supposed to be like a sort of passive, sort of chill experience almost. I suppose unless you're trying to fly through a thunderstorm or something. But again, even if you're flying through a thunderstorm, you'd want that draw distance. You want to see the sea rolling on the horizon in as high definition as possible, or at least I would. So I think that's where some of that comes from. It's also ultimately a stylistic choice, and developers have to make these choices when they're playing with hardware and stuff. And I think there's too much emphasis on what 60 frames really represents. It doesn't mean the game's badly designed. It means it's intentionally designed to look a certain way and working around the hardware that they've got available. So I think the real answer here, Rand, but maybe I will after learning Flight Simulator, depending on how accurate it is. I could fly to your house.
You could.
I could, and you could introduce me to Chicago pizza.
We couldn't, and you can take Shakespeare for a walk.
Oh man, that is like the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do that. I'm totally gonna do that.
So Tom Legg says anti-competitive feels like it wouldn't apply to Microsoft, given that they released their games on a competing platform, Steam, even with more acquisitions. So that is something to keep in mind as well. They don't lock their games behind one thing. They're widely available everywhere, even on a different platform, essentially. So, one of the other things I found was funny, Jez, was that whole Final Fantasy Origin game from Team Ninja that everybody thought was going to be a PlayStation exclusive, ended up also coming to the Xbox. I thought that was funny.
Dude, it looks terrible.
I know
Sorry.
it did look pretty bad.
It looks horrible.
And we have people in chat, including a gun, who says, "Jez, where's my Persona 5, man?"
I wasn't in my predictions article, so I did get like a bunch of tweets. People like, "Where's Persona 5? You said there'd be Persona 5 there." No, I didn't. When did I ever say there would be Persona 5 at E3? I never said that. I literally tweeted an emoji at someone with a smiley face, and that was just to indicate that I know they're working on it. I had no idea if they'll succeed to get Persona, and I have no idea when it will be announced if they do get Persona. All I know, and this is what I've said on the show, is that they're interested and that they are working on it. So, maybe it won't pan out. Maybe the devs just don't like Xbox or something. But I think there'll come a point where the intersection of market share versus what Microsoft thinks the game is actually worth, because they might just be asking for too much money. They might be like, oh, well, we're Persona. You should give us $200 million or something. Let's just pull a number out of the sky. And Microsoft could look at their internal, projections of how well other JRPGs do and just be like, well, you say you're worth this much, but I don't think you guys are worth this much. But eventually there'll be a point where the market share is like, it becomes a no-brainer for them to bring Persona to xCloud and stuff, especially given like how well Dragon Quest and how well Yakuza work on xCloud right now. You don't even need a controller to play these games well on xCloud. It's great. And Persona would be great for that. So I have no idea when Persona's coming or if Persona's coming. I just know that they're working on it.
Yep. I think it's going to be next year's E3, honestly. But yeah, let's take some questions, Jez, from the chat before we wrap up the show. But I appreciate everyone being here. We had like 1,900 people at the top. Love seeing all the positivity around Xbox and what they're doing and Game Pass and all that stuff. So if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, notification bell if you always want to be notified. We got another show coming to you on Friday. Big week with E3, another guest-filled episode. So make sure you guys tune in on Friday for another show. I definitely want to get other people's opinions about it. And maybe the people I picked, maybe one of them won't like the show. Who knows? So I'm looking forward to having more people on, giving other people a shine, that maybe normally wouldn't, be on, like, because we have a lot of people that watch the show. I don't know why, because I suck. I mean, and the poll was, mostly in your favor until I cut it right when it was 50-50. So,
Shush.
Yeah. Steven Boxy says, graphic choices give me anxiety. Am I alone? Yeah, some people I think do feel like that. So, I wouldn't be surprised. George says, thoughts on Metroid Dread 2D, but looks awesome and dark. Yeah, it looks really cool. I'm more interested in a Metroid Prime 4, but I guess that's still not coming out anytime soon.
Metroid Dread. I was really cynical because I remember Metroid Other M. It was kind of lame.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. Hey,
Metroid Dread looked great?
Hey,
actually. I really liked it.
Did Bayonetta 3 show up at all, or is Platinum's game still just not a very good studio? Because you see the reactions to Babylon's Fall after they showed it at Square Enix, and people are like, "What is that garbage?"
Babylon 4 looks
right
awful.
And what has it been
terrible.
like 4 years since they announced Bayonetta 3? And
I can't believe which marketing intern thought it was a good idea to slap "this is a live service game" underneath the trailer like it was a good thing. Do they read the audience? Like, my God, I mean, this is why Outriders was so adamant that it wasn't a live service game, because that comes with all sorts of expectations and, almost PTSD of disappointments and stuff. So, man, it looks bad. But I didn't see Bayonetta 3, no. I don't know if they did announce it. I didn't watch the show. I just watched some of the trailers after.
I don't think they announced it as well. I'm sure somebody will correct me in chat. Stodgy says, will you do more live reactions? I personally prefer an overview podcast like this one because live hype doesn't always translate without a webcam. Probably, yeah. I just did that one because people asked me to do it, and I was like, why not? Like, why not go live and just have my live reactions? I didn't think many people would watch because I wasn't on camera, but I'll probably definitely do more of that in the future for sure. PL says, what studio would you like to see someone do a new Killer Instinct game? The studio that does the Power Rangers game, I think, would be a good choice. That game a lot of people really like. So I wouldn't mind if they made it. how can anyone even argue against the value of Game Pass and how inclusive Xbox ecosystem is compared to the other consoles? Yeah, it's tough to make that argument without like using stupid stuff like you don't own your games. Well, like yeah, of course you don't own the games, right? Or it's just microtransactions or the games are bad. It's like that's not really true anymore. So, Mr. J says, how come we didn't see Crossfire going to do Hellblade 2 first? As for Crossfire X, interesting. Just because I don't think Crossfire X is coming until next year. It wasn't in their roadmap for Game Pass or whatever for the rest of the year, even though the Gunk was and Scorn was, and we didn't see those games at E3. So it's just possible that Crossfire X isn't until 2022, which is weird because that game was supposed to be out in 2020, and it didn't come out, and then it didn't come out. It looks like it may not come out this year, so we'll have to look forward to next year, I guess. Multiplayer, yeah.
Remedy's kind of like known for game delays, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Richard Monroy says, Jez, any news on when we can see Project Dragon from IOI?
Right, so Project Dragon, when I talked about Project Dragon, it's sort of like it's brand new. They literally only signed that in like February, I believe. In fact, I think it might have only been pitched in February and then only signed in like March, maybe. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but it's super early for Project Dragon. But like since so many people in the industry knew about it, journalists and stuff from like respectable outlets, like Jeff Grubb and stuff, like, and you know, other outlets knew about it. Like everyone knew about it. It was like the worst kept secret ever. I thought, well, rather than let Bloomberg or someone else have it, I'll just post it myself. Super early, so like we might not even hear about that next year. It might be the year after. It might be 2023 we hear about that, because I will say that Project Dragon is massively ambitious. It's a hugely ambitious game. Like the things they're trying to do for that game are just sort of like, I don't know. It sounds impossible. I mean, maybe some of this stuff will be scaled back for launch, and maybe it's just sort of like their North Star, what they're gunning for right now. Maybe it won't look anything like what I think it looks like by the time it launches, besides being like a medieval RPG. But from what I understand, this game is like a massive undertaking. Basically an MMO, I think, but like a next-gen MMO. Next-gen connected sort of service game. So they want to take on like the likes of World of Warcraft and stuff with this stuff. So watch this space, I guess.
Yeah. What else we got here? IC1444 says the Sony fanboys are quite angry. They need some chill. Maybe we should send them some Xbox mini fridges. Hunter says Crossfire X delay equals Remedy is probably trying to add a bunch of weird Remedy style stuff in the COD ripoff and probably causing problems with Smilegate. I doubt that very much. It's just probably not ready. Crimson Knight says, Rand, why don't you stream games? I don't know. Maybe I'll do that in the future. I would have to get another Series X, because my PC and my OLED are very far apart. So I definitely will consider that in the future. MK Michael says, I really hope the Series XS expansion card lowers in price soon and more size options become available, because he's swapping games a lot recently. Well, I mean, they definitely did say more companies will be making them. The question is, when is that when is that exclusivity up with Seagate? Is it like a year? Is it 2 years? But I feel you, because these games are getting big. Like, I think I saw Flight Sim is supposed to be 120 gigs, and Stalker 2 is like 180 gigs. That is a ridiculous size requirement for these smaller SSD hard drives. What else we got here? What's going on with Crossfire X? Probably just delayed. Let's see. Trying to find all the. Jeff Grubb said Crossfire X is in dev hell. Well, I mean, for a game that was supposed to come out in 2020 and doesn't look like it's coming out till next year, that could be very, very true. George says, no Bayo 3. Thoughts on Crytek acquisition? I I mean, Crytek's a good developer. If they did acquire them, that means they would get Rise, and would we see a Rise 2, Jez? Would you want do people want a Rise 2? Would is
I
that
think like Rise has like I always thought Rise had massive potential. It's Rome is such an underexplored, you know, place for making a game. And the game was gorgeous. And it had some problems, but it was also retrofitted from being a purely Connect game. Um, you know, it was basically an on rails action game at one point where you controlled the whole game with Connect, which sucks. But they retrofitted it into something a little bit, you know, more normal. I feel like Rise has like the most untapped potential of some of Microsoft's dead IP right now. So personally, I would love to see Rise come back. I think Rise is better than Crysis. Like I think it's the best game Crytek have ever done. But will we see it come back? I don't know. It's complicated, man. Like I often some people there are rumors about Microsoft and Crytek maybe working out some kind of deal, but it's kind of like I'm skeptical about this because I heard that you know there were business issues between Xbox and Microsoft, Crytek and Microsoft. But you know that was a whole generation ago, so maybe they can be fixed now. And money can fix any problem, really. But I also heard that. Well, I didn't hear this, but I mean the CryEngine could be a reason to buy Crytek, but CryEngine is not that popular, really. Like not many devs use it, and like if you remember, the original State of Decay was on CryEngine and they dropped it like a brick for Unreal Engine. Like Unreal Engine is just so far ahead of the CryEngine right now for like those kind of games at least. But like maybe they're working on a new generation of CryEngine or something that Microsoft might find attractive or something because Microsoft sees Epic Games as a big competitor in that services space. So, you know, an id Tech isn't really an engine that they distribute right now. So maybe they see acquiring the CryEngine as a potential way for them to get out of their relationship with Epic Games by developing the CryEngine into something that could compete with Unreal Engine. I don't know. It's complicated, but I don't know, man. It's fun to speculate though because it is an interesting one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I asked the people if they want to Rise 2, and right now we got 200 votes, and 89% say yes, and 11% say no. So definitely. I mean, I think that's one of the games people want a sequel from the Xbox One gen, like Rise, or Quantum Break, Recore. So if they did acquire them, you know, maybe they would have a sequel ready, but I don't know, man. I don't know about the acquisition stuff with Crytek. I think Avalanche and maybe a couple others make more sense, but who really knows at the end of the day? But I think with that, we are going to end the show. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here, just chatting, just lurking. Those of you that became channel members and supported the channel with the super chats, we really appreciate it. We'll be back on Friday with another show with some guests, talk about everything that's going on in the video game world, especially Xbox. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, guys. I hope you had a good time. I hope you're excited about what Xbox is doing. Jez, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nah, just like, you know, thanks to everyone for the huge support this week. You know, it's been a big week for Windows Central and big week for podcast, I believe. Like it's looking at the stat tracking, the podcast, this is the most watched podcast since last week was the most watched podcast since the Bethesda thing. So, you know, thanks to everyone for the support and I don't know, maybe Rand can get some shrimp merchandise.
The shrimp emoji, yeah.
Shrimp emoji.
Xbox shrimp.
Xbox shrimp.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, thank you guys. We appreciate it, and keep it gaming. We'll be back in a couple days. I'm excited to see what is going to happen on Thursday. So maybe some big stuff that we can discuss on Friday. But yeah, until then, keep it gaming, guys, and we'll see you later.